investigation. Fascinating things uncovered here, Bill.
Yeah, that's right. Those new details coming from newly unsealed search warrants detailing what investigators found inside of Maxwell Anderson's home, as well as images of Anderson and Sade Robinson the night that Robinson was last seen alive.
State of Wisconsin versus Maxwell Anderson.
Maxwell Anderson appeared in court on Friday to get a trial date set and go over where things stand.
There are a couple videos that I want to make sure he does have.
Anderson's accused of killing and dismembering Sade Robinson this past April, disposing of her body parts and torching her car. Now, stills from surveillance cameras are giving a closer look at the investigation. Images show Maxwell Anderson and Sade Robinson show up to a Menominee Valley bar and restaurant for a date. The two sit at the bar and later leave together. Filings say the two went to a Water Street bar that night of April 1st. It was the last time Robinson's family and friends heard from her. On April 3rd, someone found a severed leg on the bluff of Warnemont Park. Anderson was pulled over the next day. A detective noticed a possible blood stain in the car. New court documents say an autopsy shows the leg was severed, quote, with a sharp instrument. Robinson's foot later appeared near 30th and Galena, a couple blocks away from where her burned-out car was found. Surveillance stills show a man investigators believe is Anderson, walking away from the area, who was later seen on a bus heading back towards his Southside home. When police searched his home, filings say investigators collected swabs of stains and women's clothing, some hidden in the basement. Now on Thursday, Anderson's defense said that it is asking the court to try that arson charge as a...
What's up, everybody? Welcome to MTGV Crime Podcast. Today we're going to be talking about Sade Robinson. There was some updates, so I wanted to come in and see what they're talking about. We know this case has been going on for about 4 months. And so they said an informant came out. Allegedly, Anderson spoke to somebody claiming that he planned it and all of that, which I don't doubt that he planned it. In the beginning, I wondered, was Sade Robinson the first and only black girl he had ever dated? You know what I'm saying? And how did they meet and all of that? So it's a couple videos out about that. They're trying to figure out if they met through his bartending job or if they met on a dating app or whatever. But it's obvious to me that it was planned. I mean, they went out and immediately he did this. They also said that he texted her afterwards trying to cover it up, talking about how's work. And the first body part they found was a leg. So we gonna listen to this stuff and I'm gonna stop it along the way. Shout out to everybody in the building. Please smack that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you have not.
Separate case. No ruling on that just yet. That trial date, again, is set for December. Anderson's defense attorney just told me actually a few moments ago that he intends to file a change of venue motion in the next couple of weeks to have this case moved out of Milwaukee County. Reporting live in Milwaukee, Bill Miston, Fox 6 News.
It happened in Milwaukee. It need to stay in Milwaukee. Period.
Police say a high-profile homicide was planned and the accused killer confided in someone.
Fox 6's Durante Matthews joins us here in the studio with new details from an informant.
That's right, Mary and Ted. Sade Robinson was killed and dismembered back in April, and new search warrants say the man accused of killing her had her death planned out weeks in advance.
In these 180-plus pages, police describe a plot to kill Sade Robinson. Family members say this makes them see the case in a new way.
This fuels my rage, knowing somebody else could have stopped this, and they didn't.
Newly released search warrants say almost a month before Sade's death, her accused killer, Maxwell Anderson, told a confidential informant he planned to kill her. The informant says on March 5th, Anderson took them to his basement. The informant described seeing 3 saws, a sanitation sink, and a room covered from the floor to the ceiling in plastic painter tarp. The informant says Anderson told them he recently met Sade and planned to shoot her in the basement, dismember her body, and dispose it throughout Milwaukee.
Okay, so whoever this informant is, why didn't you come forward before it happened? So they're actually trying to discredit this person. But I don't know if he said it or not. I feel like charges should be brought against this person who didn't come forward with this information. But now you want to come forward. Didn't even come forward when they were searching for it.
Why would this guy feel so comfortable to tell you his plans in the first place?
Surveillance images from April 1st show Sade and Anderson on a date together at Twisted Fisherman. Investigators say the two went back to Anderson's home that night. The next day, Sade's car was torched. Her severed leg was later found at Wanamar Park.
You have to be a very demonic individual to do something like this.
Anderson has pleaded not guilty to homicide, mutilation, and arson charges. Documents show police spoke to the informant 2 weeks after Sade's death.
After the fact doesn't do me any justice because
Right.
it doesn't bring my daughter back.
Records also claim another woman went on a date with Anderson in February. She says Anderson asked her back to his home. She believed he drugged her drink. Sade's father says his daughter's death still doesn't feel real.
I called a pizza shuttle just to hear her voice because they got on the answering machine. I talked to her every morning.
Wow, that is so sad. And whoever this woman is that said he may have he drugged her drink, I don't know if she ended up going back to his place or not, but he was working at the perfect place to be able to do that. Some place called Vickers. Let's take that back right quick.
She says Anderson asked her back to his home. She believed he drugged her drink. Sade's father says his daughter's death still doesn't feel real.
I called a pizza shuttle just to hear her voice because they got on the answering machine. I talked to her every morning.
And Sade's father wants to know why the informant didn't say anything ahead of her death. Police did not outline a reason in these court documents. We also just received a message from Sade's family's attorney requesting that there be no venue change for Anderson's case. You can see that full message over on our website, fox6now.com. We also reached out to Anderson's attorney multiple times today, but have not heard back. Ted.
Robinson. Family members say this.
Yeah, so I just wanted to say, they said according to the newly released search warrants, investigators subpoenaed Anderson's employment records at Vickers. It's a Yankee Hills bar. So a co-worker of Robinson's told investigators the two would go there because Victor's never check or ask for any type of ID. Wow. So filings say a cell phone video from a friend showed Robinson in the bar on March 30th, the day before she was last seen alive. Investigators also subpoenaed videos from the bar to see if the two interacted at any point. Now, she was there the day before. So, I mean, it'll be interesting to know how long did she know him? Because could she have met him that day and then decide to go on a date with him the very next day? I mean, they definitely should have some surveillance footage, but how much of that do they have left? How soon did they check this bar? You know, because footage, they don't keep it forever. A lot of times in a few days, they record over it. Heck, a lot of times it don't even be working, but it was obviously working where they had drinks at, and I think that's where they were when this video, when they showed the picture of them early on. Let me keep going. No, I thought they showed it before they showed her father, but shoot, that might have been the video before. We gonna keep going. But, oh, here it is. Okay, so I'm thinking that this is Victor's before they went to the other place. Okay, so but she did tell somebody about her date, but that could have been, I mean, she very well could have met that guy the very day before. But I mean, if it was planned, you would have thought he would have tried to reach out to her. So I don't know. That part is still sketchy to me. They don't even know, sound like. So, hold on. So previously unsealed confidential informant told investigators Anderson said he intended to kill Sade, forcing her. Okay, so we just heard that. And They never said, you know what? They have not found her head yet. So he very well could have did exactly that. And if he did, then this person is on to something. I mean, because he had to take her out some way. I'm sure it didn't start with assault. It usually start by knocking somebody out some kind of way, drugging them, or doing that. And so a woman who went on a date with Anderson in February said that she drugged him. We heard that. As investigators sought to put together a timeline and connection, they also subpoenaed dating apps they believe Anderson used, like Bumble, Hinge, OK Cupid, Tinder. Wow. There's a lot of them out there, man. Run. Because a lot of people go to these sites to target people and harm people. So when investigators searched the house in April, they found handwritten usernames and passwords in a folder labeled dating. Oh, he's so organized, but he ain't, trust me. We read his record, how he was beating up on everybody in the family, anybody that was around him trying to help him or whatever. So the man accused of killing Sade Robinson planned to do so roughly 1 month prior to her death. Okay, so if he planned to do that roughly 1 month prior to her death, obviously he didn't meet her on March 3rd. Because remember, March 30th. Their date was on April Fool's Day. So if they're saying, or if this informant is saying that he would have had to know her before that, I didn't picture it like that she just happened to go into a bar, meet this guy, and go on a date. I pictured it as he sought her out. You know, because I felt like his target was a black woman. He wanted to do this to someone black. And so I pictured that he sought her out, whether it be a dating app, whether he met her somewhere. So we'll see. That's what I think. And so they also said Anderson's criminal trial is set for December. Robinson's family also filed a civil lawsuit against Anderson. Y'all know that they sold the house immediately. Like somebody else is already living in his house. I feel like they can't go back in. Well, they can go back in. But I mean, if they did go back in, they would be tearing out floors and doing stuff like that. Where is the rest of her body? He need to talk. That's what he need to do. Let me go to the next.
Investigators say the two went back to Anderson's home that night. The next day, Sade's car was torched. Her severed leg was later found at Wanamar Park.
You have to be a very demonic individual to do something like this.
Anderson has pleaded not guilty to homicide, mutilation, and arson charges. Documents show police spoke to the informant 2 weeks after Sade's death.
After the fact doesn't do me any justice because it doesn't bring my daughter back.
Later.
Records also claim another woman went on a date with Anderson in February. She says Anderson asked her back to his home. She believed he drugged her drink. Sade's father says his daughter's death still doesn't feel real.
I called a pizza shuttle just to hear her voice because they got on the answering machine. I talked to her every morning.
And Sade's father wants to know why the informant didn't say anything ahead of her death. Police did not outline a reason in these court documents. We also just received a message from Sade's family's attorney requesting that there be no venue change for Anderson's case. You can see that full message over on our website, fox6now.com. We also reached out to Anderson's attorney multiple times today, but have not heard back. Ted.
Durante, thank you.
Tonight, detectives returned to the home of the accused killer. Prosecutors say Maxwell Anderson and Sade Robinson went on a first date just before Robinson disappeared. Someone found her severed leg the next day at a park in Cudahy. 12 News' Kendall Keys is live outside Anderson's home near 39th and Oklahoma in Milwaukee. And Kendall, there's been a lot of activity in that neighborhood over the past 24 hours.
In Patrick, Milwaukee police are still on the scene here tonight. We know earlier this evening, the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office was here for what a spokesperson calls a follow-up search of Anderson's home. We were here last night as Sade Robinson's loved ones left tributes in pink and turned the front yard pink in memory of Robinson. By morning, someone had cleaned almost all of it up. Crime scene tape once again surrounds the home of suspected killer Maxwell Anderson.
Hopefully they can find some type of evidence that.
Now, they waited until the family went out there, and we talked about this before. They did not immediately search that house. Once they put all those decorations up, they went in and taped it up, went inside the house, got rid of all of the stuff that they had put out there. And probably like a week or so later, somebody else had bought the house and moved in. I'm like, dang, they sold the house quick. So the family is suing them. Like, they feel like they should get the money for the house or whatever. You know, I will have to go through it. But they feel like he shouldn't make no kind of money off of this, and he shouldn't. He really shouldn't. I mean, because if the house was sold, who do the money go to? His father, they're saying, is the one that is the money man that's helping him or helped him get the house or whatever. But I'm going to read what they said about this text message that Maxwell Anderson sent out the very next morning.
Connect the dots with Sade.
Law enforcement vehicles packed into the alleyway behind Anderson's home. What are you hoping they find in that house?
More evidence that leads to her.
Crime scene tape marks the new perimeter around the property as investigators conducted this latest search. The scene Tuesday night similar to what it looked like nearly 2 weeks ago as detectives investigated 19-year-old Sade Robinson's disappearance. Her severed leg found in a Cudahy Park April 2nd, one day after detectives say she went on a first date with Anderson.
She was a sweetheart. She was a young teenager. Didn't get to enjoy life.
Tiffany Baker says she's a family friend of Robinson. She's hoping the search brings loved ones closer to the rest of Robinson's remains.
We can't even have a proper burial for her because of the fact is we don't even know where she at.
As investigators got to work searching in the back of Anderson's home, friends, family, and strangers left tributes in pink, Robinson's favorite color, at the front.
I thought that was really sweet that there's so many people showing respect to this young woman. It's just what happened is horrible. So I'm really happy to see that.
Kendall, detectives initially searched Anderson's home on April 4th and 5th. Do we know what prompted today's search?
Oh, Patrick, the sheriff's office says with the investigation on.
Okay, so they searched it the 4th and 5th, and then all of a sudden again after they did this.
Going, all they could say was that it was a follow-up search. But we did watch investigators focus on the back of the house as Milwaukee police secured the scene out here in front.
But I also, about that search, I wanted to say...
First here at 6 o'clock, 12 News investigates.
Oh, shoot. I didn't mean to go back. But about that search, I wanted to say that...
Tonight, detectives returned to the home of the accused killer.
His father had went in and took stuff out before they ever went in and searched the house. So it was some BS on with that, too. Dang, I just skipped the whole video. What am I?
Police say a high-profile homicide was planned and the accused killer confided in someone.
Tonight, detectives returned to the home of the accused killer. Prosecutors say Maxwell Anderson and Sade Robinson went on a first date just before Robinson disappeared. Someone found her severed leg the next day at a park in Cudahy. 12 News' Kendall Keys is live outside Anderson's home near 39th and Oklahoma in Milwaukee. And Kendall, there's been a lot of activity in that neighborhood over the past 24 hours.
In Patrick, Milwaukee police are still on the scene here tonight. We know earlier this evening, the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Office was here for what a spokesperson calls a follow-up search of Anderson's home. We were here last night as Sade Robinson's loved ones left tributes in pink and turned the front yard pink in memory of Robinson. By morning, someone had cleaned almost all of it up. Crime scene tape once again surrounds the home of suspected killer Maxwell Anderson.
Hopefully they can find some type of evidence that connect the dots with Sade.
Law enforcement vehicles packed into the alleyway behind Anderson's home.
What are you hoping they find in that house?
More evidence that leads to her.
Crime scene tape marks the new perimeter.
So I'm gonna get into what they're saying about these text messages. So this information is coming from a newly unsealed search warrant. And so Maxwell Anderson texts, "Morning, how's work going?" The text message state, according to the search warrant. What a piece of crap. After he done caught the bus back, did all of that, caught her, set her car on fire. He thought he was real smart. He thought he had all of that mapped out on everybody. People seen everything he did. What a freaking idiot. He might as well drove himself to the police station too. So prosecutors say the text appears to be an attempt to cover up what Anderson had done by pretending that he thought that Robinson was at work. Prosecutors charged him with first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and arson of property other than a building. So the criminal complaint, it says a prosecutor say the pair met up for a first date on April 1st. They met at Twisted Fisherman in Milwaukee. The pair then traveled to Robinson's car to Duke's on Water. Now, one of the things that I always wondered about this case is, did she know that he needed to ride with her? They arrived they came through two different doors of the restaurant, but he was not driving. So when it was time to leave, he got in a car with her. I wonder if she knew that. I wonder if that's in a text message, because one of the things I thought was that he set her up that way. You know what I'm saying? To where he would have to leave with her. So to me, if that's the case, he lured her that way as well, because I'm like, on a first date, I mean, it's always best if you don't know the person at all and you meet them on a dating app or whatever, and you don't know him, nothing about him. It ain't like you've been seeing him around town or nothing, right? You should never go back to their place. You should always ride separate. Always let somebody know where you at. If they ain't even there somewhere, sitting somewhere else watching these crazy people. So I thought it was odd. And even her father said first of all, he don't even know how she got around, how he even got a date with his daughter, because he is so far from her type. But never go back home with them, never be alone with them, not on the first date. And so I don't know. That it'll all come out. I'm sure. Hopefully it'll all come out. So they said the pair then traveled to Robinson's car to Duke's on Water. Robinson's phone record then shows she traveled to Anderson's home near 39th Street in Oklahoma. So he either caught the bus or Ubered there. And then I just wondered, like, oh, I'm gonna need a ride back home, or I'll just ride with you. Like, where's your freaking car? Like, so on April 2nd, someone found Robinson's severed leg at Watermont Park in Cudahy. Someone also found Robinson's car torched near 30th Street in Lisbon. So the search warrant states a driver rammed the gate at the pump house to get into the park, and investigators found pieces consistent with Miss Robinson's Honda in that area. Body parts were also found near railroad tracks, near 31st and Galena. I mean, just all over Milwaukee, that area. And on a lake on Lake Michigan in South Milwaukee. Hold on. So let's see what they're saying. I think this is the video that we just watched, but let me make sure they don't have nothing in here. But I'm gonna let this matter of fact, I'm gonna go to the next video.
First here at 6 o'clock, 12 News Investigates uncovers new court records in the death and dismemberment of Sade Robinson.
Prosecutors say Maxwell Anderson killed the 19-year-old and spread her body parts and remains into Lake Michigan and a Milwaukee park.
12 News investigative reporter James Stratton joining us now. James, prosecutors say Anderson tried to cover up the murder using a text message.
And Deanna and Derek, this search warrant unsealed just days ago says Anderson texted Robinson the next day, the night after the murder and burning of her car. Investigators say it appears to be an attempt to cover up the crime the night before.
A newly unsealed search warrant shows Sade Robinson's phone was at Maxwell Anderson's house until about 12:45 a.m. overnight, the night she was last seen, between April 1st and 2nd. Prosecutors say Robinson and Anderson met up for a date on April 1st, the last time anyone saw Robinson. Prosecutors charged Anderson with homicide, mutilating a corpse, and arson. A passerby found Robinson's leg in Warnemount Park in Cudahy on April 2nd. Other body parts were found near 31st and Galena in Milwaukee, in South Milwaukee and Waukegan, Illinois, on the shores of Lake Michigan in the following days and weeks. The search warrant states her phone and car were at Warnemount Park early that morning, between 3 and 4:30 a.m., the same area where her severed leg was found. A car rammed the gate at the pump house in Warnemount Park. The search warrant states investigators found pieces, quote, consistent with Miss Robinson's Honda Civic in that area. Prosecutors say Anderson lit that same car on fire near 30th and Lisbon in Milwaukee and was later seen on surveillance video getting into this MCTS bus. Hours later, prosecutors say he texted her, quote, morning, how's work going, end quote, which appears to be an attempt to cover up what Mr. Anderson had done by pretending to think Miss Robinson was at work, the search warrant states. A group of Robinson's family gathered Friday to honor her. They say investigators have returned some of her remains, but not all have been found.
And James Stratton back with us this evening. James, we're expecting some big decisions in this case next week.
And we are, Derek. Next Friday, a judge will decide whether or not to separate the charges for Anderson. A jury trial for him set for December. He has pleaded not guilty. His attorney did not return our request for comments this afternoon.
Investigative reporter James Stratton in the newsroom for us tonight.
Okay, that's great. So
that morning, between 3 and 4:30.
Okay, so the footage showing the burning car in the background. So further investigation efforts led MPD to a set of train tracks at 3100 block. At the 3100 block. So where they found a shoe print. It was a long. This idiot left all kind of evidence. Like he thought he was smarter than everybody, but he really stupid in reality. So where the shoe print was found. So it was along these tracks that a homeless individual reported an encounter with a white male matching Anderson's description, inquiring about the tracks and seeking a southbound route. So he actually asked for directions. And so the directions towards his residence. Anderson's phone was reportedly off the network until approximately 9:30 a.m. on April 2nd. So he powered off his phone, but still was seen by everybody. Everybody. Look, y'all see they even got video surveillance of him on the bus. Like, this dude could have been no more stupid, I don't think. Whole video footage on the bus, at the bar. I mean, everything is recorded, dude. Look, you can't get away with... Look, I don't even know why anybody gets away with anything because everything is out in the open. I mean, everything is being recorded. But what I was trying to find was that picture of him on the bus looking stupid. With a black thumb and everything. Yep. Look at that. His whole route was mapped out. Even when they went to his house and arrested him, it was recorded. Him walking down the street. So, hold on now. So when mapping a route from the site of the vehicle fire at 31 Lisbon to Anderson's residence, investigators estimated the trip would take just under 2 hours on foot, aligning with the timeline events. So he did not mind taking a 2-hour walk after this. I guess he needed to blow off some steam anyway. After all that, where is the rest of her body though? I mean, I'm assuming he definitely put it all in the water though. That's what I believe. It just washed up far. Or went far. So the investigation led police to Anderson's residence near 40th in Oklahoma, where Robinson's cell phone records had last traced. So during the search of the premises, detectives discovered a knife in the kitchen sink, bedding, an axe hanging on the living room wall, a mop in the stationary tub, a mop in a tub, an axe on the wall in the living room, and women's clothing hidden under a tool bench in the basement. Wow. Hold on, let me come back over here. So they also said more women's clothing were found in the garage, and more were hidden between basement support beams and block foundations, including a bra and underwear. So, okay, Sade Robinson had on one outfit. I don't know if she had clothes in her car or not, but it sounds like he could be connected to some other missing women in Milwaukee. We know that it goes down in Milwaukee, missing women. I mean, and the crime in Milwaukee is crazy anyway. But I guarantee you he connected to some other ones. All that going on. I already said though, I never believed that this was his first rodeo. So also a woman's ID card was also found during the search. Okay. So what can they tell us about that woman? Why we ain't heard nothing? Another warrant obtained. I mean, because if it was another victim, that should be news, right? So another warrant obtained by 12 News detailed a search warrant for Anderson's car, which includes. So Anderson had a car. He had a car. So when he met her at the on a date, and he got dropped off and needed to ride with her, that was definitely his plan to ease her, get her close to him, just in case she didn't want to go back home. You know, like, you want to go back home and have a few drinks? He like, well, just in case she don't want to do that, she's gonna have to take me home. See, that would have been a turnoff for me. You go meet somebody and they surprise you with needing a dang on ride. Boy, that would have been the end. Call your Uber, get same way you went, got here. But at the same time, realistically, you're going to feel obligated to take them. You know what I'm saying? Like, what y'all think? Would you feel obligated to take somebody home on a first date? I wouldn't like it. I don't know how I would act. Shout out to Angela Reddick in the building. Thank y'all for coming through. Shout out to Young Riaz. Yeah, Pure Evil, a house of horrors. That's what it's sounding like. And so another warrant obtained said, for his car, which included photos of what a detective wrote appears to be blood in plain sight on the front seat. No, on the front passenger door speaker. Well, I'm assuming that Sade wasn't in his car unless she was at a point, but it could also be a whole nother female. Y'all just heard all that stuff they found. So Anderson remains in custody on a $5 million bail. He's due in court in December And again, first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and arson. And her family is feeling some kind of way. They feel like it's a slap in the face for them, I believe, on how they're getting the information. Let me see. It says a slap in the face. Attorney representing Sade Robinson's family criticizes information released in the case because the family, just like Carmen, the family is finding out about stuff through the news and on social media like everybody else. Shout out to 755. How you doing? Good morning to y'all. Thank y'all for coming in with me. Yeah, so this update has been out for about a month and I didn't know. I'm just finding out that they gave us a little bit of an update. So I'm gonna let these videos play. Please smack the thumbs up, y'all. Subscribe to the channel.
Bus. Hours later, prosecutors say he texted her, quote, "Morning, how's work going?" end quote, which appears to be an attempt to cover up what Mr. Anderson had done by pretending to think Miss Robinson was at work, the search warrant states. A group of Robinson's family gathered Friday to honor her. They say investigators have returned some of her remains, but not all have been found.
And James Stratton back with us this evening. James, we're expecting some big decisions in this case next week.
And we are, Derek. Next Friday, a judge will decide whether or not to separate the charges for Anderson. A jury trial for him set for December. He has pleaded not guilty. His attorney did not return our request for comments this afternoon.
Investigative reporter James Stratton in the newsroom for us tonight. This week, search warrants unsealed in the First State murder put the focus on a confidential police informant. According to the warrants, the informant claimed Maxwell Anderson revealed a plan to kill and dismember Sade Robinson before the two went on a date in April. 12 News legal analyst and criminal defense attorney Dan Adams is here with us this afternoon to talk about this. Let's talk about confidential police informants. How often are they used? And we noticed in this particular warrant, police said they were familiar with this person and had used this person before. How often of a practice is that?
Yeah, so confidential informants are one of the biggest tools in law enforcement's toolbox. Again, you're having somebody who knows something because they're in the streets, they're talking with people, and for their own reasons, often to work off their own case or sometimes even for money, they'll come forward and provide that information. Other times they're just trying to be good citizens, of course. But in this case, having a repeat person who law enforcement knows that they've represented, have helped bring felony cases in the past, that's not unusual. It is unusual for a case like this, given just how unusual the homicide was. To have a confidential informant say, hey, this person admitted to me that they had a plan beforehand to commit this type of crime, totally unusual.
To that point, knowing about this potential plan beforehand, is there any legal liability for this informant to come forward to alert police to this potential murderous plan?
Well, one, you have to assume that it's true, right? There's a few items in the warrant resuscitating the person's discussion to the police officer, which give me a little pause as to the veracity of what this person was saying. But if this person knew that there was a plan to commit murder and did not alert law enforcement for it, yes, certainly there's some culpability for them as well.
And the use of this confidential informant getting criticism from two attorneys for Sade Robinson's family, as well as attorney for Maxwell Anderson, particularly criticizing the fact that this person has anonymity. Do defense teams have a legal right to learn the identities of police informants?
Not up front. There's some barriers to get through, but it's not uncommon for the prosecution to hold back the identity of an informant. In fact, there's a lot of public policy reasons why you would not want to expose who that person is. Now, if the prosecution wants to bring that person into court, obviously we're going to learn who that person was. Now, what's really interesting about this case is the police were in that house 2 times already, and the informant 2 weeks later said, hey, you have to look in the basement, and they used his statement to go back in a 3rd time.
And that's something that gives you pause?
Well, certainly, a big...
So wait a minute. It took the informant to say, hey, you got to go in the basement. They didn't see nothing the first time. I mean, did they not go in the basement when they went? Like, is that a part of the house, or did they just not know where to look? Because, let's see. So it said the search warrant was returned on April 17th, and it showed detectives recovered a P-trap from the sanitary tub in the basement, pipe from the laundry area, swabs of stain and cushions on a leather couch, and debris collected from sewer pipe underneath the basement concrete. So it took the informant to tell them to do that. That's what they telling us. That's what he just said. Y'all heard him, right? Okay. Because they said the search warrant states that Anderson took this is all coming from the informant. So like he said, that's why they went in the third time. And I wondered that. So I'm happy he answered that. And so the friend and the Anderson took the friend to the basement of his home. This friend is now telling March 5th and showed him the room covered in plastic painter's tarp with a sanitation sink inside. So the CI, the confidential informant, stated that the tarp was taped to the floor and the ceiling, covering the wall and the floor. Okay, the CI stated the sanitation sink was also contained in the tarp. Wait, hold on. The CI stated the sanitation sink was also contained in the tarp up area of the basement. The CI stated that Anderson told them that he intended to kill Sade Robinson. Yeah, that part is just crazy to me though. But the CI also said, yeah, planned on pulling a gun on her, bringing her to the basement. Planned on shooting her and dismembering her body in the room that they were in. So the room that he was just describing is the room allegedly that Anderson. This is why I'm saying whoever the CI is need to be charged too, because you withheld information that you should have brought forth. You know? I mean, how do you have knowledge of this and say nothing? Come on, I want to hear more about that. Charges. Something. Like, I mean, and then you wait. Like he just said that let's bring that back. I ain't even about to read all that because I mean, basically they already said it.
Want to expose who that person is. Now, if the prosecution wants to bring that person into court, obviously we're going to learn who that person was. Now, what's really interesting about this case is the police were in that house 2 times already, and the informant 2 weeks later said, hey, you have to look in the basement, and they used his statement to go back in a 3rd time.
And that's something that gives you pause?
Well, certainly. A big hole in this case for the prosecution is there doesn't seem to be any remnants of this dismemberment. You can think how gory and awful this would have been, and there would have been blood and other matter from the victim in the house. And so far as we know, there's been none found.
All right. Want to pivot to another high-profile homicide investigation.
He must have done it somewhere else because they can't find that. That's what it is that's missing. Where it actually happened at, because it would be gruesome. It would be stuff everywhere, you would think. I mean, this dude planned it, so maybe he did it someplace else. He turned his phone off. There's no telling. I don't know. But they the detectives. They get paid the big bucks. They need to figure it out. And he need to talk. I don't know how he thought this was going to play out.
That's the hotel death homicide. We have 4 suspects charged. None of them were in custody originally. Kind of walk us through how it works to get those people into custody and in front of a judge. Do they work things out with their lawyers and prosecutors?
So a warrant is a warrant. So if you have an open warrant for you, law enforcement can, if they know where you are, they can come and pick you up. And so if you know that there's a warrant out for you, the best practice is to go to the courthouse and announce yourself. Hey, I'm here. I know there's a warrant. They'll take you into custody. Out of custody intake court, and they can arrange to have that case brought up, and you can be heard on bail right there.
What that got to do with Sade Robinson?
himself in.
Definitely.
All right.
Nothing.
First here at 4, those new details in the death of Sade Robinson as revealed in newly unsealed search warrants.
Robinson went missing after a first date on April 1st. Investigators say someone found her leg on the beach at Cudahy's Warnemont Park the next day. Her burned out car and other body parts were discovered near 30th and Lisbon later that week. 12 News' Hannah Hilliard is live at Milwaukee Police Sheriff's Office. And Hannah, new information is now coming from a confidential informant.
Right, Kristen and Derek, it's all detailed in this search warrant recently unsealed. It says a confidential informant actually met with Milwaukee County Sheriff detectives on April 15th, and it describes a visit this person had at Maxwell Anderson's home back in early March. Now, this confidential informant says, or a CI told investigators they went into Maxwell Anderson's basement. They described a room in the basement with a sanitation sink and tarps, quote, taped to the floor and the ceiling, covering the walls and the floor. They also told detectives Anderson admitted to planning Robinson's death. Anderson is facing charges of first-degree intentional homicide, mutilating a corpse, and arson. Now, in a statement this afternoon, Anderson's attorney denies these new allegations, saying in part, while we have not been provided with the name of this individual, the information provided by him or her is completely untrue.
And based on the informant's conversations with police, Hannah, detectives searched for certain evidence inside Anderson's home.
Right, Kristen, they were looking for those painter's tarps mentioned by this confidential informant, or any sort of tape residue that may have indicated those tarps hanging from the ceiling or the floor of Anderson's basement. Coming up tonight on WISN 12 News at 6, we'll go into greater detail about what was actually found as a result of these search warrants.
Hannah Hilliard, live in Milwaukee. Thank you. Maxwell Anderson pleaded not guilty to charges of homicide, mutilation, and arson. He remained
Funny looking dude. Shout out to the realist in the building. Thank you for coming in. So look, the family is also upset because, like I mentioned already, they are finding out about the gruesome details. What we finding out here, they found out on the news too. And that's not okay. And so the Robinson family first heard about the gruesome details from the news reports, and now she is asking in advance notice for officials because such documents are unsealed. And now she is asking for advance notice from officials before such documents are released. I mean, that's just common courtesy. They are doing Carmen Bolden Day, Jelani Day's mother, the same way. They set up a meeting with her and they end up canceling the meeting, and she found out the information on the news or online that they were supposed to be discussing. No respect. This is totally disrespectful. And not to let the family know. This should be on the lines of, how they want to conceal a name of a victim because they want to make sure the family knows. What happened to all that courtesy? I mean, that need to be extended for the investigation, the information and things that come out later and all of that. The family should know first. Damn, that's common courtesy, common sense. But so Robinson mother, Sheena Scarborough, tells 12 News that finding out the new details about her daughter's murder from the news is deeply upsetting. The devastation and the heartache that's taken on her to find all that's taking on her to find out all of this in piecemeal portions. It sort of feels like a slap in the face. Okay, so let's see. The family doesn't understand why the confidential informant didn't come forward with details of Anderson's plan before her murder. And now I feel like he need to be arrested for coming forth now. So are these questions really eating at Sade Robinson's family? The reporter asked, and she said they are. This is the attorney talking. They are disturbing to them. Maxwell Anderson's lawyer is disputing the informant's claims. So the attorney, well, did he tell you that? Did he tell you where he's gonna put her head? Because that's what they still need to know where it's at. You know, I think that's the last one, the last part they need. And that's so disturbing to even say. I mean, I'm imagining it. So, information from people who want to be labeled as a confidential informant is often false and exaggerated. Well, I guess they wanted some attention too.
Remains in jail held on a $5 million bond. Robinson's remains have been found across Milwaukee County and in Waukegan, Illinois. Right now on the 12 News app, a timeline on the investigation from the night she went missing to charges being filed.
New information tonight in a murder case that's captivated the community's attention from day one. A young woman found dismembered after a first date. Right now, Maxwell Anderson is in jail, accused of killing Sade Robinson after the two got together for dinner last spring. 12 News' Hannah Hilliard is live at the Milwaukee County Jail tonight. Hannah, the new insight is from a confidential informant who spoke to detectives.
Right, Derek. All of that new information detailed in this search warrant recently unsealed and obtained by 12 News. In it, it says a confidential informant met with detectives and told those detectives that they were inside Maxwell Anderson's home back in March, and that Anderson told this informant he was plotting to kill Sade Robinson.
A first date at Milwaukee's Twisted Fisherman caught on camera shows 19-year-old Sade Robinson sitting alongside Maxwell Anderson before leaving together on April 1st. The next day, someone found Robinson's severed leg on the beach in Cudahy's Warnemont Park. Her burned-out car and other body parts found close to 30th and Lisbon later that same week.
Nothing about this scenario could ever be in a parent's mind as something that could possibly happen.
The gruesome discoveries landing Anderson in jail.
State of Wisconsin versus Maxwell Anderson.
There have been more than a dozen search warrants in this case, including one just unsealed, and for the first time shedding new light on the now 4-month-long investigation. It says a confidential informant, or CI, told investigators they were inside Anderson's basement in early March. The CI described a room in the basement with a sanitation sink and tarps taped to the floor and the ceiling, covering the walls and the floor. Also telling investigators, Anderson admitted to planning Robinson's death by shooting Robinson before dismembering her in the basement and disposing Robinson's body throughout the city. Anderson's attorney, Tony Cotton, calling into question the validity of a confidential informant, saying, quote, "While we have not been provided with the name of this individual, the information provided by him or her is completely untrue, and there is no physical evidence to support these baseless assertions." The search warrant says detectives were looking for DNA, tarps, and evidence of tape residue in that basement. The document says they removed piping from the sanitation sink and took swabs from stains on a leather couch inside Anderson's home.
And Hannah, if and how that evidence will be used is still yet to be seen.
Right, Derek. We know Anderson is charged with first-degree intentional homicide, mutilation of a corpse.
That breaking news at 10, human remains found in Manitowoc County, just a few miles away from a 3-year-old boy that vanished nearly 7 months ago. Elijah Vu was last seen in the city of Two Rivers on February 20th.
So, like I said, this was him. I was saying that everything he did was on camera, even down to when they came to his house to arrest him. You see even a dog looking out the window at his stupid self. Everything he did. Pockets turned inside out, they got him. But yeah, I believe that he ain't never dated a black woman and girl, whatever, and he sought out a black woman because out of all the things that he's ever did to everybody that was around him, he wanted to take out somebody black, and that's what he did.
This morning, we are turning the spotlight on the murder of Sade Robinson and how her alleged killer reportedly planned her death weeks in advance. Sade Robinson was last seen alive on a dinner date in Milwaukee with Maxwell Anderson. Their first date, seen here in surveillance images from WITI TV. Cell phone records show that they ended up at Anderson's house, and then she was never heard from again.
Even his bus ride from the murder scene was on camera. He didn't ask a homeless person for directions. Then some woman, I believe, seen him. I know they seen him running from the burning car that he burned up. Like, just stupid.
The next day, someone found a severed leg in a nearby park belonging to Robinson. Anderson is now accused of killing, dismembering, and leaving Sade's body parts all over Milwaukee. WISN television reports that a friend of Anderson's is now a confidential informant in the case. He told police that Anderson showed him a room in his basement where he planned to kill Sade. The search warrant indicated a plastic tarp covered a sanitation sink, and 3 saws were found in the room. The informant told police that Anderson planned on shooting Robinson and then dismembering her body in the room before disposing of her body through.
And again, arrest the informant for knowing all this and not saying a damn thing.
Throughout the city.
2 weeks later. That helps nobody.
Now, the defense has denied that these claims have any relevance and that this informant has any information.
If he's lying, he should be arrested too. Give him the attention he's seeking.
Let's bring in to discuss attorney and law professor Dante Mills and forensic death investigator, professor and host of the Body Bags podcast.
Can somebody answer my question? Can this informant be charged, sir?
As Joseph Scott Morgan is with us. Thank you both for sticking around with us. Joseph, I'm going to start with you. We've got this search warrant that is showing things that were recovered inside of the home. A P-trap from the sanitary tub in the basement, a pipe in the laundry area, swabs of stain and cushions on a leather couch with different debris. I mean, they've got a lot of stuff from inside of the house. How is this, in your opinion, going to be connected and put in front of a jury to indicate that this was, in fact, something that was planned out and that it connects to Sade Robinson?
I don't want to step on my colleagues' toes here relative to and get too far off into the law relative to this, but I have to say that if anything smacks of premeditation, this does. This individual is purposed, and we do know this relative to dismemberment cases. You need privacy for this, and what many people don't understand is that when you have cases of dismemberment, it is arguably one of the most messy affairs that an individual perpetrator can engage in. Because of all of the physical evidence that's left behind. It requires a lot of preparation. You have to have knowledge, and then all those things that you don't account for, particularly at even a molecular level of the things that you're leaving behind. I don't want to be too grotesque, but when you think about, say, for instance, even elements of bone that are left behind as a result of sawing, undetected blood.
I'm reading it. I'm laughing because I'm reading this. They said this food. Wait, what does it say? Ouch. During the canvass, they discovered video footage of a white male closely resembling Anderson in size and build walking on Lisbon Avenue. The footage shows the burning car in the background. So like I said, I said that somebody seen him walking away from the burning car, but they also got footage of it.
Blood, for instance, and even skin tissue, hair, those sorts of things. And the fact that things would be lined with plastic goes to this idea that he was mindful of this. And I got to tell you, it really sends a chill up my spine, because it's hard for me to fathom that this would be his first time out of the gate.
Nope, it ain't.
Relative to something like this. And maybe it's just something he's been planning for a while.
Nah. We just heard all the women clothes they found stuffed in this basement, in the cement, and wherever they said in the basement, it was tucked in places, bras, drawers. I mean, everywhere, garage. Like, no, under stuff. No, some woman's ID. Have y'all found proof of life of this woman's ID? Like, and why would, this ain't his first rodeo. I never believed that.
Wow, and he started with this poor young lady. I have no idea, but this would have taken time and purpose.
There are many people who are poised listening to see if there are going to be.
He started with her because she was black, and he wanted to kill a black woman. That's why.
Any connections between this defendant and any other unsolved cases, because even in his home, there was women's clothing that was located in the beams. There was this bedazzled compact mirror that seemed to belong to a woman's
beams. I knew it was found. Women's clothes was found somewhere in some beams.
So there are these and names in a notebook. So there's this possibility, but we can't go there until we hear from police if they've got a bedazzled compact mirror that seemed to belong.
Notebook with dating apps and passwords and all this. Boy, he was searching for his next victim.
There was women's clothing that was located in the beams. There was this bedazzled compact mirror that seemed to belong to a woman. So there are these and names in a notebook. So there's this possibility, but we can't go there until we hear from police if they've got a connection.
I want to know, how much of this are they investigating? Like, when you find all of this information within an investigation, do they do they give that stuff to some other people to investigate? Like, how, or are they just gonna finish this out and come back to that? Like, how does that work? When you're investigating one person and then you discover that there's other people that is possibly, unalived as well. I don't know. It just seems like we would have heard something before now if they found evidence of other people, but clearly they have.
Dante, can you speak to where this defense is right now? Because you've got this informant, and that really could just finish off this case for the defense. But they are disputing that this informant is actually legit. Should the state even go there? They got a lot of evidence. Otherwise, he was the last person seen with Sade. Do you put this informant on the stand?
You are correct. All of them do that. All of them do that. Keep some type of souvenir after they did what they did, which says there's more victims. They need to say something about these victims. Like, they ain't said nothing, which leads me to believe they ain't did nothing. I don't know. Let me know what y'all think. Please smack that thumbs up, y'all. Subscribe to the channel. Share this out. Shout out to everybody in the building. Thank y'all for tuning in. Please subscribe and press that notification bell and thumbs up.
Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. For sharing. For sharing. For sharing me. Thank you for so much.
Lock his ass up. Lock his ass up. You're going to jail. You're going to jail. Lock his ass.
Yeah, we want to see him. Well, he already locked up. He deserved a death penalty. How do y'all feel about it? But at the same time, he deserved to suffer too. Just being there chilling.
May have credibility issues.
Stupidity.
Absolutely, because what it shows, and I thank the professor for leaving me an avenue here, is the means, motive, and opportunity of the defendant to have planned this crime and to have the ability to carry it out. So you want to, when you're prosecuting a case, you want to make sure you have all of the pieces in place, especially as something as grotesque as this, as something as gruesome as murder, especially when you're talking about the possibility that there could have been other victims or would have been other victims. You want to make sure that this person, if he is responsible for this, does not have the ability to do it to anyone else ever again. And that means following through with every piece of evidence that you can. So you want to pair the fact that you had her cell phone ping at his house to show that she was there. And then you bring in this witness to talk about the layout that he had, where he had the plastic. He said in advance that he was going to do these types of things. It's disturbing that he had another woman's ID at his house, a 27-year-old woman. So you want to make sure that you have everything included in your case so that the jury here.
So a little bit more information, because in the article that I'm reading, it just says a woman's ID was also found during the search warrant, not specifying anything. Photos taken. Wait a minute, is this by detectives show what appears to be blood on the speaker? Okay, I didn't realize I had a picture of that. That's crazy.
Here's as much as possible, and they have everything they need to come up with a guilty verdict if in fact he is responsible for this, and make sure he goes away for a long time.
Joseph Scott Morgan, how aggressively do you think detectives are following up on these leads? They're looking for the woman whose ID it was, the woman's name's in the notebook. Yeah. Are they aggressively going after this case, or are they really focused on Robinson, and if they are led to something else? I mean, inquiring minds want to know.
Full court press here. And I'm telling you, you have to overturn every stone in this area when you begin to think about forgotten individuals that are walking the streets, these sorts of things, and looking for any elements that any kind of foreign DNA that's going to be inside of that basement. And I have to remind folks that there are any number of serial perpetrators that are out there over the years that have kept mementos. I think most famously is probably BTK. Many people remember him, and he actually had a hiding place where he would keep elements. And, they have, and I'm not a forensic psychologist, don't want to be one, but, they go back and they fantasize about these things and they try to relive it. It's something they can hold on to, long after a body is gone. So these little elements, you talk about things like compact mirrors and all these sorts of things, and even intimate items, with underwear and things like this. And I have no insight into what they may have found. However, I think that it would be prudent for them to tear this house down or go through it as with a fine-tooth comb, looking for any kind of foreign DNA that does not tie back to that residence specifically. And they need to pursue every potential lead, because I don't know how many open cold cases they have up there involving females that might fit her demographic and her specifics as far as age and appearance. But I think that they're probably pressing forward with this.
Let me follow up with you, Joseph, because this home was sold. It no longer belongs to Maxwell Anderson. Another family, ideally, is living inside of it. And the prosecutors and police have said, look, we've gathered all of the evidence we need to. We can go back when we want to. But you're talking about a full-on, deep, detailed, it seems like, a search of this house. You mentioned the words tear down to get to this information. Do you think that that's possible to do when you have another fully functioning family inside of that home that's not going to really be happy about the crime scene being torn apart like that?
Shouldn't have bought it.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I would. It's interesting that this house was sold to somebody and they might not have had knowledge of this. I'm kind of interested in that aspect as well. But yeah, I mean, if the family's cooperating with the police, you had talked about, or it has been mentioned, things being found in rafters, these sorts of things. It sounds as though they're going through every inch of this house, but that door has to be left open, and also any kind of further excavation that might need to take place in the surrounding yards as well. And let's keep in mind, he had various dump sites that he was going to. Famously, we covered this on my podcast. Famously, we had I hate to talk about this so badly, so horrible, but limbs, appearing out in the lake and this sort of thing that had been placed out there and had washed back ashore, perhaps. Nothing is off the table here.
What?
Absolutely.
Man,
a gut-wrenching case. Such a difficult one for the family of Sade Robinson, this community. Joseph Scott Morgan, thank you so much for your insight. Dante Mells as well. Joseph is sticking around. Dante, have a good rest of the day. Thank you for joining us.
So I want to change it up. I want to talk about a couple of judges, just talking about these cases in general, but there's a Michigan judge. Hold on, y'all. I'm gonna change it up. I'm gonna be here for a minute, I guess. But I just happened to run across this, and I was just like, "Oh heck, nah, seriously." So we already know how, depending on your complexion, the laws is different for you or whatnot. Anyway, let me just let y'all hear this shit.
Kathleen A. Ryan presiding. Good morning. You may be seated. If you're black from any other country, you're doing way better. If you're an American black person, then you're a lazy piece of oh, he's just I have no use for him. I can honestly say that. Okay, I'm not systemically racist. I'm a new racist. I never was, but now I am because you're shoving the down my throat and making allegations that you don't know about. You're telling me who I am and you've never met me. You.
In that email, Hutton said Judge Ryan, quote, has vocalized her hate and contempt for various protected groups.
Kathleen A. Ryan.
Meet Judge Kathleen Ryan. Look at her. Like, yeah, we gonna talk about her. Like, this is the kind of stuff that you go through when you black in America. I'm sorry. We got different set of rules. We got all these racist people in office where they don't need to be. And the only way that we're finding out about these people is when their friends turn over on them. You know what I'm saying? More people, if you are not a part of this, you should expose the people that are. Expose the people that are in these positions that they have no freaking business in. Let me know what y'all think about that, because that right there is not okay. Hold on, let me pull her up. And so, yeah, one of her colleagues, well, I don't know if she was this, I think she might have been this guy's boss, and I guess he was tired of her mess. Tired of her calling him at home when he wasn't at work, when he wasn't supposed to be at work, asking him stuff. It sounded like she was hitting on him and all kind of other stuff. But we gonna get there. Let's see what they talking about.
Put on leave indefinitely. She's under investigation.
Yeah, she need to be put on leave indefinitely. Let me Well, this stuff is upsetting. This is what these people think of us. This is what they think. People like her. This is what they think.
Making the news tonight, out of order. Scandal swirling at the Oakland County courts with a judge put on leave indefinitely.
A possible inappropriate relationship with a colleague, and it does not end there.
Oakland County Chief Probate Judge Kathleen Ryan taken off her docket this week and put on leave indefinitely. She's under investigation, sources say, for an inappropriate relationship with a male who also works at the Oakland County courts. On top of that, there was apparently other tangible evidence of additional misconduct by the judge. The evidence will now go to the Judicial Tenure Commission, who will make a recommendation to the Michigan Supreme Court regarding the investigation. They have the power to do everything from nothing to removing the judge for good. This is not the first time Judge Ryan has made headlines. Back in 2021, she was charged with domestic assault and battery after allegedly smacking around her boyfriend at one of their homes in Wixom.
Why was she even still a judge after that? Huh? So you sitting up here judging other people for their wrongdoings while you sitting up with a mugshot your damn self, slapping your boyfriend around. And then they put her back on the bench. Like I said, the problem is bigger than we know, man. But what upsets me, people, oh, they playing the race card. They want to pull the race card. This don't have nothing to do with it. It got everything to do with it all the time. All the time. And if you ain't black, you might not know that. So sit back. But we see it every day. Look at her. As she aged like a damn banana.
With domestic assault and battery after allegedly smacking around her boyfriend at one of their homes in Wixom. The case was later dismissed after being moved to Wayne County for conflict of interest in Oakland County.
This was in 2021. We in 2024 and she on the bench. She should have been sat down then. She's no example and they should be held at a higher standard. Right? You gonna judge me, but you slapping your boyfriend around. How many cases do she need to, like, I'm sure, like, she gave stiffer sentences to black people that she felt was lazy as hell. Because she said black people in America is lazy as hell, and the ones that come from other countries, they just do better. They're better, right? I don't know where and how this whole black people lazy thing came from, when black people was the only ones doing the work in the world. But anyway.
Ryan was elected to judge in 2010. She handles cases.
Look, I mean, do y'all see her anywhere in this photo? God dang.
Is having to do with wills and conservatorships, for example. She has no previous complaints that have been investigated by the Judicial Tenure Commission.
Well, now, Brandon, the question is, will any of this affect her previous or current caseload? Short answer, we just don't know yet. I'm told there will likely be an update from the county next week, and we will, of course, stay on top of it.
We begin tonight with a judge who makes life-altering decisions for families and those with disabilities, now accused of making racist comments and using shocking, derogatory language. Thank you for joining us.
And why don't we have a hate bill, hate law? You know, the other protective class of people that they're going to be talking about, they got a law. They got something protecting them. We don't. And we very well should. Because how often do you hear black and gay put together? Why they protected by a law and we not? That judge should get charged with a hate crime. And they need to look at all the cases to see if she did excessive sentencing, which I'm sure she did. Because we heard what she think about black people and gay people. What I didn't hear what she said about gay people, except for she said little fucker or something like that. I don't know. Listen, this man been recording her for years is what I'm understanding. And so it's a lot that has been said. What he initially said is that he filed some charges for harassment or something like that. 3 months went by. They did nothing. So he released those recordings to several people of importance. And then they had something to say after that. So if you ain't got proof of what you saying, they ain't gonna do a damn thing. But when you got recordings that you can put out and we can hear how the judge talk, we know it's her. In some of them, she sounded like a man, though. I was like, who's this man talking? That's what I was thinking. But come to find out, I guess it was her.
It's for 7 News Detroit at 6. I'm Mike Duffy. 7 investigator Heather Catallo joins us now with more about why an Oakland County probate judge has been removed from her docket. Heather?
Mike, a high-ranking probate court official says he's been recording Judge Kathleen Ryan's statements for years. Even though probate court administrator Edward Hutton says he's been harassed by Judge Ryan, he says he does not want this to be about him. Hutton says he's coming forward now because he wants to protect the people who have to face Judge Ryan in the courtroom.
The Honorable Kathleen A. Ryan presiding. Good morning. You may be seated.
After more than 13 years on the bench, Oakland County Chief Probate Pro Tem Judge Kathleen Ryan is out
and this
of
was
her
in
courtroom.
2017.
Chief Probate Judge Linda Hall.
That what they was just showing said 2017. So she looked way older than that now. Way. Look at the arrogance. You may be seated. Ugh. Anyway.
Pro Tem Judge Kathleen Ryan is out of her courtroom. Chief Probate Judge Linda Hallmark removed Judge Ryan from her.
Although this stuff really upsets me, I just gotta sit here and smile at the fact that she's been exposed by her own peer. You know what I'm saying? Like, see, whistleblower, so to speak. And this is what had to happen. If you are not a part of the part of the fix, you're a part of the problem, because you're gonna hear how other people gonna stand behind her. Those are the people that feel the same way she does. Those are the people that help keep them in these high positions that they don't deserve to be in. Period.
Docket last week announcing that a complaint about internal allegations of unprofessional conduct was sent to the Judicial Tenure Commission. Judge Ryan was arrested in 2021 for domestic violence, but those charges were later dismissed. And now she's back in the headlines.
Well, if you're black from any other country, you're doing way better. If you're an American black person, then you're a lazy piece of.
Y'all hear that? That's what she think of us. Her and everybody protecting her. Her and everybody that gave her the job back in damn 2021. Like, she is not an example. But to sit up here and have your views recorded like that, it is just beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
The 7 investigators have obtained the recordings that county officials say prompted Judge Ryan's removal.
Oh, he's just I have no use.
Yeah, so who is this old state court official? Is a effing cunt, I'm guessing. He's just a dick, I'm guessing. I have no use for him. Now, they have no use for you, ma'am. None, I hope. I mean, hey, they can do nothing, or they can do something. It's pretty much what they said. But yeah, she ain't gonna be able to be no judge no more. I feel like she need to be behind bars with it too. With whoever the people she gave excessive sentences to. Do you think they'll go through all of that? How long has this woman been on the bench? I missed it. You know how many countless people that she misjudged purposely just because she could with her privilege? Ugh.
She's made it a living hell in the past 6 years. I mean, it's been terrible. It's cost me relationships. I think it's affected my health.
Dang, it's costing relationships, affected his health. Tell us more, sir. Should have came forward sooner. It's been 6 years of misery.
Can't sleep.
Attorney Edward Hutton is the Oakland County Probate Court Administrator. He's in charge of running everything that's not under the judge's purview inside one of the state's largest probate court.
He run everything, and she been harassing this man. That was her eye candy, I guess. Let's continue.
Hutton alleges Judge Ryan has been calling him both during work and after hours for years. And Hutton says during those hours and hours of calls, Judge Ryan said highly inappropriate things.
Why did you start recording the calls?
I just felt like it wasn't going to change. Nothing's manipulated in it. It's conversations that I was a part of, and I'm absolutely willing to testify to the authenticity of every single one of them.
I can honestly say that. Okay, I'm not systemically racist. I'm a new racist.
What's a new racist? Y'all ever heard that? She ain't systemically racist. She a new racist. Let's see if she explained that.
I never was, but now I am, because you're shoving the down my throat and making allegations that you don't know about. You're telling me who I am, and you've never met me. You.
Yet she's sitting up here telling black people what they are and ain't never met us.
You.
Hutton said,
and you too.
As the judge also used homophobic slurs about other elected officials.
You know.
And that's not all.
A lot of times they were conversations about sexual encounters that she's having with various individuals. I mean, in intimate detail.
Hutton says for years he felt like he had to play along. And he says for years he was afraid.
For years he'd been exposed to all her dirty, nasty, funky news. Don't nobody care, girl. Ooh, like somebody Anyway,
to speak up.
I didn't want to lose my job, and I didn't want to be in her crosshairs. It's such a David and Goliath situation. I don't have the power. I'm not elected. I could get fired.
They'll let her resign, but guess what? She's not gonna be able to be no judge, man. They better not look. No. Look, I'm gonna be following this to see what happens. That's for dang on sure.
Tomorrow.
On May 24th, Hutton says he sent Chief Judge Linda Hallmark a notice of sexual harassment.
For 3 months, nothing happened.
That's why
3 months until August 22nd. He's like, I got something for you. But okay, so wait a minute. He must stay in a state that it's okay to record without letting somebody know you recording them. Because yeah, I guess. I don't know, though.
On August 22nd, Hutton says he decided to send the recordings to the chief.
Well, yeah, because if he was recording her without her knowledge and it was illegal, this wouldn't even be a case. I'm assuming. You know what I'm saying? Because it would have been like, these don't exist because you did this without her knowledge. So I guess it's okay.
Justice of the state Supreme Court, Oakland County Executive David Coulter, and other public officials.
She's stupid anyway. See, she was very comfortable in her BS. She had gotten away with it for so freaking long. She thought that she could just say anything to anybody and everybody was in agreement with her. Hold on.
And he also contacted me.
I just want to make it right. I haven't filed a lawsuit. I'm not looking for a payday. I want to keep my job and do it in peace. And I want the people in Oakland County that come to court to get a fair shake, to have their day in court.
He just want to do his job without being harassed. And that's good that he do want people to get a fair shake. I wonder how long has he known how racist she is, though? I mean, I wonder what was his last straw. He said he done lost relationships and all kind of stuff over this woman. Like, I want to hear more about that.
Have an unbiased trier of fact.
In that email, Hutton said Judge Ryan, quote, has vocalized her hate and contempt for various protected groups. Once the recordings were shared with those state and county officials, Judge Ryan was removed from her docket. In a statement, County Executive Coulter said, quote, there is absolutely no place for harassment of any kind or for racist or homophobic language by anyone at Oakland County, especially by someone the public must be confident will act fairly and impartially. The alleged conduct and abhorrent comments made by Judge Ryan merited her removal from the probate court docket pending further investigation.
Is Judge Ryan fit to be on the bench?
Absolutely not. Nobody with that much hate in their heart for certain people or certain groups of people, I don't believe that they could possibly make fair, unbiased decisions regarding them.
I don't like people.
I did reach out to Judge Kathleen Ryan to talk to her about this. Her attorneys sent me this statement that says, quote, we respect the authority of the Michigan Supreme Court. However, we look forward to vindicating Judge Ryan.
They are the problem. Who's these people? Statement from Judge Ryan's attorney. So, yeah. All right. Well, he getting paid.
In the appropriate forum. I also spoke to probate judge Daniel O'Brien. He says Judge Ryan's friends are supporting her and believe these statements are totally out of character.
It don't matter what y'all believe is out of her character. See, those are the people that's a part of the problem. Those are her friends. And so, yeah, they must have her same views. And to defend it by saying this is not a part of her character. Well, obviously it is. It came out of her mouth. It's recorded in her voice. Did you hear it? Because I did. So did the rest of the world that's paying attention.
For her. All right, certainly a lot here. But what's next with the Judicial Tenure Commission?
Well, they cannot confirm or deny whether they are pursuing an investigation. There has been some reporting that suggested that the complaint against the judge involved an inappropriate personal relationship. Hutton says that is not true. He says there was no physical contact. This was strictly a sexual harassment complaint about her alleged comments that started all of this. But again, he says the bigger issue here is what the judge says about people in protected classes, and he's hoping that that is what the JTC will focus on.
So I mean, are these people? Hopefully, they ain't gonna try to, sweep this up under the little rug, because we see it now. So, I mean, is it going to take a bunch of protests and all this kind of stuff to get these people to do what's right? Because, I mean, an investigation ain't even needed. She just need to be fired, sat down, and possibly charged for some other things. I'm sure they could find something to arrest her for. But they don't want to do that. Just like that, that one lady that checked that cop, drove all the way home and all that stuff. I forgot her name, but these people is full of privilege, honey. Full of it. And they're protected. They are the protected class. The new racist people. The one. I'm not systematically racist. I'm a new racist. I didn't used to be. Like, girl, bye. You was raised probably that way. She didn't used to be.
So everybody's just sort of waiting to see what they will do.
And it sounds like this is in its early days. We know that you're going to stay on top of it. So
we will follow it.
Appreciate it.
It's kind of stuff we deal with every day. So on another note, we got another judge like now, what's her name? Karen Ryan, the judge. That was her name that we just seen. And so they claim that she was removed from the docket on August 27th for unspecified misconduct. Now the court administration has stepped down. Now the court's administrators has stepped forward to say he blew the whistle on her, secretly recorded their call. So that's the guy that we just heard. All right, so we gonna keep our eyes and ears open for this one. So we gonna switch it up again. Hold on. Okay, how many of y'all remember the Superman guy? Like, this what should have happened to Kathleen. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know nothing about this judge. All I know is I seen this guy, this name, what is his name? Oh, Diablo. No, it's I don't know. This is a heck of a name. The O is just, he got Debo. Wait, it's so many names in this. Deborah. But I guess it's Diablo. Reddens. Remember the viral attack of him flying over. So we gonna listen at this, see what's going on with this case. I see them throwing the complete book at this guy. Like, I mean, for what he did. So let's see what's going on here. Look how he looking. Just something is missing there, I tell you. You look like a changed man.
Stipulate to the presence of the jury.
We'll see.
All right, you all may be seated. And good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be getting started in just a moment or two. It is very important that you be here on time. We've lost about 18 minutes. So you're all like brides. We can't get started without all of you here. All right? All right. First order of business is that the parties have stipulated to the admission of exhibits, plaintiff's exhibits 62 and 63. Those exhibits are admitted. All right, next witness, or first witness, I should say.
Thank you, Your Honor. The state calls Mary Kay Hovis.
He looked calm. He fixing his eyebrows. They smooth, dude. You right? I ain't never seen nobody do that in my life. Wait a minute. Diabra. I don't even know what this man was being accused of. Why did he even do that?
You do solemnly swear the testimony you're about to give in this action shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
And can you please state and spell your name for the record?
Mary Kay Holtz, MaryKayHolthus.
Did you get that? She said that really fast. Yes, I got it.
I'm a little nervous on this side.
Okay, so we want to hear her explain, what happened. So this is actually I guess this is day one of the trial. Maybe, yeah. Because I see right here, yeah, it's this is the trial going on. But okay, let's go.
Counsel?
Thank you. Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon.
Are you currently a judicial district court judge?
I am.
How long have you been on the bench?
Since 2019.
Were you elected or appointed?
Elected.
Since then, have you handled what we refer to as a mixed docket?
I have.
Can you describe what that is for the jury, please?
Means I do half criminal and half civil. So on some days I'm doing civil trials and calendars, and opposite days I'm doing criminal.
I want to focus in on criminal calendars. What types of matters are you handling on a daily basis?
All types that come to the district court, which are basically felonies and gross misdemeanors.
Are there various types of hearings associated with criminal cases?
There are.
Would that include arraignments, guilty pleas, sentencings, revocations, and trials such as this?
It would.
Can you explain to the jury briefly what a guilty plea hearing is and how it can unfold?
A guilty plea hearing is when, obviously, most cases don't go to trial, they negotiate, and it's a negotiation between the defense attorney and the state. The defendant will enter into a guilty plea agreement, and then at the guilty plea hearing, we do a canvass. They review paperwork, sign off on it, and then we also engage them orally to make sure they understand everything they're doing and the rights that they're giving up in exchange for their guilty pleas.
Subsequent to a guilty plea hearing, is in the matter set for a sentence?
It is.
And what is a sentence?
A sentencing is when they're going to be sentenced pursuant to negotiation or otherwise, whether they're going to get probation or prison. After we accept the guilty plea, we refer the matter to parole and probation. Parole and probation does what we call pre-sentence investigation report, criminal background, social background, medical background, all the history of the individual for consideration ultimately in passing sentencing.
Are there times in which a criminal defendant will appear in front of you out of custody?
Yes.
And are there other times in which they will appear in custody?
Yes.
As a result of that, are there some sentencing hearings in which people are remanded into custody from out of custody?
There are.
Are there security measures in place in the courtroom for these out of custody defendants as well?
Well, there's security in the courtroom. We have marshals and we have corrections officers watching. I don't know per se if there's anything special.
No, that answers your question. Are there times in which you will sentence someone to probation?
Yes.
Are there times in which you may send them into custody, correct?
Yes.
When you sentence someone to probation, are they still monitored by the court?
Not by the court, by parole and probation.
And what is parole and probation?
Parole and probation is the division responsible for supervising individuals that are on probation. They may have to report, they tell them what to do, help them find jobs, or put them in programming, get evaluations to see what kind of programming is best to serve that individual.
Are there times in which defendants who you presided over will get probation, they'll go out into the community, and then they'll essentially mess up on probation?
Yes.
And would they be brought back in front of you at that point in time?
Not right away. Sometimes P&P tends to work with them a lot of times to give them multiple chances. But at some point, when they get to a certain level, then parole and probation will put on what we call a violation report, saying that they're violating a probation. Judge, it's time for you to take a look. We think they should go do their time now.
And then that goes in front of you, and what's that proceeding called?
Revocation hearing.
At revocation hearings, do you essentially make a decision if the defendant should remain on probation or be remanded into custody?
Yes.
I want to bring you back to November 20th of 2023. On that date, do you recall whether or not you took a guilty plea from the defendant in a prior case?
I do not specifically.
When I say the defendant, do you understand who I'm referring to?
I do.
Who?
Mr. Redden.
Do you see Mr. Redden in court?
I do. Sitting between his two attorneys over there at the table.
Will the record reflect identification of the defendant?
Okay. There's three gentlemen and he's
The middle
the
guy.
middle?
Yep.
Okay, let the record so reflect.
So as you sit here today, you don't recall taking a plea from the defendant?
I do not.
If I were to show you a document that memorializes that plea, would that maybe refresh your recollection?
Yeah.
May I approach?
Yes. Oh, so sorry. Oh my God. I'm so sorry.
So I'm showing you.
She's so used to being in charge.
A guilty plea from November 20th of 2023. Our court minutes essentially a record of any court proceeding that happens in the court. Do you recognize your name on there?
I do.
And do you see journal entry which suggests that you took the defendant's plea?
Yes.
Okay. And that would be on November 20th of 2023?
Correct.
Do you remember which charges he pled guilty to?
Attempt battery, substantial.
Notice how the dude talking with his eyebrows.
And so on this particular date, when you took the defendant's plea in the prior case, was he released from custody?
He was.
And was that pursuant to an agreement in the guilty plea?
Correct.
When he's released from custody, I would presume he goes back out into the community.
He does.
And then you set a proceeding to follow the guilty plea.
Correct. The sentencing. The sentencing date.
Okay. And you talked a little bit about the sentencing date. You mentioned that you received some materials to review in order to prepare for sentencing.
Right.
And in this particular case, did you receive those materials?
I did.
And what were those materials?
Well, I always have the guilty plea agreement, so I know what the negotiations were, and the pre-sentence investigation report, primarily.
Primarily, you said? If sentencing was set in this case on January 3rd of this year, when would you have prepared your calendar and reviewed those materials?
Sometime in the week prior. Usually closer in time, so I remember. I don't remember because it was a holiday kind of time. It was our first day back. It may have been like the Friday before.
Okay. And so you know some things in advance about the defendant when you're going in to do a sentencing.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember reviewing a PSI in this case?
I do.
Can you explain just briefly for the jury, when you're reviewing a PSI, what are the types of things you're looking for in order to determine the appropriate sentence?
Generally, the first thing, partly because it comes first in the PSI, is the age. Because depending on whether, if it's somebody older who's never been in trouble before versus somebody super young, a lot harder to send an 18-year-old to prison, to be honest. And just kind of, so age is what I look at first. And then I kind of peruse, is it somebody, do they have a lot of AKAs? That kind of gives you a little heads up. A look at the family background to kind of see what we're dealing with. Is this somebody who's had problems growing up? Has there been foster care kinds of situation? What's the family situation? A lot of times we'll have.
So with that being said, I mean, as I sit here, because I mean, all I seen of this video was this guy flying on the judge, and I never really investigated it. So now I want to know what the heck did he do in the first place? So this, the man recorded on the video attacking the Las Vegas judge in her courtroom on Wednesday. And this article is actually from January of 2024. And so that's when this happened. So it says he was sentenced to probation multiple times, once by the same judge, and also once bit a woman, according to the documents. So Diablo Reddins, 30, a 3-time felon, was in the Clark County Court District Judge Mary K. Holthus courtroom for sentencing on a charge of attempted battery with substantial bodily injury. Wow, who the heck he beat up? So the judge was about to deny Reddin's probation. The request, when Reddin ran up to her, jumped over the bench and attacked her. The video shared with News 8 Now investigators showed. Several other people then fought with Reddin, overthrowing her to the ground. Okay, we already know that. I want more of what he did, but I guess that's what I mean, he had a few things going on there. And I know they said now too that he pleaded guilty with mental illness. So it says Reddin, who appeared in court with his mother, has 3 felony convictions and 9 misdemeanor convictions on his record, according to documents News 8 obtained. So in 2012, Reddin was convicted of assault causing bodily injury to a family member. A judge sentenced him to 45 days in jail and a time documented said. So that was 2012. In 2013, Redden was convicted 3 times for domestic battery. So he liked jumping on folks, which is what he did to the judge. Like, he treated the judge like anybody else in his life that was getting on his nerves. So he got a documented history of beating up folks. So he was ordered to attend anger management classes, spend 2 months in jail, and pay a fine. So one of the things I remember her saying is that he was gonna. It was something that she said, we gonna have to do something different. And he definitely did something different when he flew across that dang podium, or whatever they call it, the stand. So in 2014, Redden was convicted for attempted theft, the document said. So a judge sentenced him to probation, which he violated several times. Redden then entered a mental health court program. So he's documented mental illness. You could tell, look at him and tell. While on probation, Redden was twice convicted of domestic battery, tampered with his alcohol monitoring bracelet, and violated other terms. So he was also charged with kicking the police officer in the knee. Well, we know how that goes, but possibly he did. Also, during the probation in 2018, Redden was convicted of battery with substantial bodily injury. In that case, he bit a woman. So he fighting women, and caused her great bodily injury. Bit her and broke the window of a man's car with a rock, document said. Again, a judge sentenced him to probation. So he been getting off on a lot. And so that's why she felt the need to do something different, because he had been getting off on a lot of stuff. So when he don't like something, he jump on people like he did her. She wasn't even expecting that at all. So, and I'm sure, that's my first time ever seeing it. I can't say that's the first time it ever happened, though. But anyway, he broke the window of a man's car with a rock, the document says. Again, a judge sentenced him to probation. A judge honorably discharged him from probation in 2020 and 2021. Honorably discharged. Okay. So in 2021, Redden was convicted again for domestic violence. In that case, a different judge sentenced Redden to prison for a term of 12 to 30 months. And the board granted Redden parole in 2022. So also in 2021, judge charged Redden with attempted home invasion and destroying the property of another person. It was unclear if Redden's arrest for these charges happened before he remanded in custody. So this dude got so much going on. So much. In January of 2023, which brings us to this, Redden appears in her court on charges that was stemming from 2021. Redden pleaded guilty, and the judge released him without having to pay bail. So that February, Holston, the judge we're looking at, she sentenced him to a year of probation. So Redden violated his probation in October, and the judge ordered him to serve 106 days in jail. It was unclear why Redden was released before January 3rd. Before the January 3rd incident, or if he was even served any of the jail time. So on April of 2023, Redden threatened to bust the kneecaps. Dang, he kicked the cop in the kneecaps. Now he talking about busting kneecaps. Good Lord. So he threatened to bust the kneecaps of another man with a baseball bat, resulting in substantial bodily injury, document says. So he just open up a can of whoop ass on anybody he feel, including the judge. So in May, a different judge ordered Redden. Oh, okay, so that January wasn't leading us to that. This is more. So in May, a different judge ordered Redden to undergo a competency determination record. So Redden was then committed to a state behavior facility. They found him to be, loose screws, I guess. So a judge then found Redden competent to stand trial in October. Redden pleaded guilty in November. Judge issued a bench warrant for his arrest in December after he missed a court appearance. So during Wednesday's court appearance, Redden's attorney asked the judge to sentence his client to probation. The prosecutor asked Halton to sentence Redden to 19 to 48 months in prison. And so basically, I would like to tell the courts and everyone here, based on my criminal history, I feel that I guess this him. I feel that like I shouldn't be sent to prison for a sentence time. Redden, he told the judge before the attack. So, have you looked at your criminal history? She asked him. I looked at it. Wait, hold on. Okay, he said, I looked at it. I just looked at it, Redden said. You lived it, I suppose, the judge said. 3 times felon, a gross misdemeanor, 9 misdemeanors, multiple domestic violence convictions. You got a lot going on, sir. And he said, I'm in a better place in my mind, in my mental health. I have a support system. I just got hired at Teamsters for the union, making $20 an hour. The reason behind every single domestic violence, I've been dealing with mental health. So the reason behind every single domestic violence is because of his mental health. And I didn't know that I was dealing with mental health. And they put me in a mental health court. And I still didn't know that I had mental health problems. Redden appears to not accept the facts. So Halton appeared to weigh on his prior convictions in the determination. She said, I feel like you shouldn't be sent to prison, but it's appropriate. I feel like you shouldn't be sent to prison, but it's appropriate. Then you have to do what you have to do, Redden said. Okay, so that ain't her. That's him talking. I feel like I shouldn't be sent to prison, but if it's appropriate, then you have to do what you have to do. So Redden was booked into the Clark County Jail on new charges of battery and battery on a protected person. 1 count of battery on a protected person charge indicated the victim was was very much harmed. He was due back in court on new charges at 9 a.m. So the spokesman said Holston's injuries were being monitored. A marshal was taken to a hospital. He was listed in stable condition as Wednesday afternoon, a spokesman said, because y'all know everybody jumped in on it. And so that was a conversation prior to him doing what he did. And I mean, he skated on a lot of stuff that he should have been in jail for. Even when they sentenced him to jail, they gave him probation. And so, yeah, he definitely need to do some time for all of that. Like, I don't care what you got going on. Your resolution can't be to jump on everybody. Like, he don't even know how to deal with his frustrations other than jumping on somebody. That's why he did it to her.
Dad's in prison, mom took off, raised by grandma, all those things that you're kind of mitigating maybe on some level the behavior or trying to understand what you need to address and where you need to go. Obviously, one of the big things is the criminal history. I always jot down how many felonies, how many gross misdemeanors, how many misdemeanors, and then looking specifically at those, what types of is it somebody who's got a drug issue that needs to be addressed? Are we looking at stolen identity of another, possessions of credit cards and stuff, which more often that also indicates a drug problem and where these crimes are focused.
And y'all hit the thumbs up.
Separate category is violence and sex offenders, I suppose, another one that are a little bit different.
Is prior violence an important factor for you when deciding whether to put someone back out on the streets or put them into custody?
Hugely.
And in this particular case, did you note prior violence in Mr. Redden's history when reviewing this case?
I did.
As you sit here today, do you have a recollection of any specifics?
I know that when I did the PSI, he was about 30 years old, and his first criminal conviction was in 2012, battery of domestic violence. So literally, he hit 18 and it's domestic violence on his record. And throughout the remainder, until I saw him again, he averaged one battery domestic violence conviction a year, always. He had 3 felony convictions. He had an attempt theft that actually started out, it was pled to an attempt theft, but it started out as a robbery, which is the violent taking of property from someone else against their will, a classic crime of violence. He had 2 battery domestic violence felony convictions. You get a felony.
Y'all can't tell me. I mean, you could just look at him. I wonder what is going through his mind right now. I just wonder.
After you have so many misdemeanors, they start becoming felony. He had a battery with substantial bodily harm.
That's a real blank stare.
Conviction. He had a gross misdemeanor for malicious destruction of private property, which started out as a attempt home invasion, meaning kicking in someone's home. Again, pled down to the malicious destruction. I believe that was the one I had him on probation for. I didn't recall it, but I've since learned that he was in my department on probation for that. And I ultimately revoked him because of the case that I was seeing him on back at the time of the attack.
Okay, so that's a lot of information.
I know, sorry. I do that.
I appreciate that.
Okay, do me a favor, both of you. Make sure you let him get his question out before you respond and vice versa. My court reporter is really good at what she does, but she's never mastered the art of taking down 2 people at the same time. Sorry.
In addition to criminal history, are you also reviewing the PSI to determine if that individual has had opportunities with probation, services, mental health treatment, and all those types?
Absolutely.
And in this case, as you perused Mr. Redden's PSI, did you see evidence to suggest that he had several opportunities with the system when it comes to service?
I did. All of the crimes that we see, they're in a chart form, and then next to the chart is kind of what they got, probation, prison, violations and whatnot. And so you can tell that he had probation a number of times, that he had violated a number of times. According to his report, he had gone through mental health court, had multiple sanctions and got in trouble a lot of times, but ultimately was passed through and graduated from the mental health court program. According to the PSI 2 times, he definitely had jail terms and he had been to prison for on 1 term.
And so you had mentioned a moment ago, you have since realized that you previously revoked his probation.
Correct.
I want the record to be clear about that. You're reviewing his PSI, preparing to sentence him on the incident. You don't recall that information?
No, no clue.
Fair to say there are hundreds, if not thousands, of criminal defendants who've come in front of you over the years?
Yes.
And you have since learned that you had previously revoked his probation and sent him to jail?
Correct. And I don't know if I sent him to jail. I don't know if he was in custody and he stipulated that he had violated his probation. I mean, he may have been agreeable to it. I don't know any of the facts of that. I just know that I somehow ruled you're revoked.
Understood. I want to now move forward to January 3rd of this year. So on that date, you proceeded into court for your criminal calendar. Do you remember how many matters you had on that day?
I don't.
Were there a mix of both in custody and out of custody defendants?
Yes.
At some point in time, did Mr. Redden, was his case called?
He was.
If you can summarize for the jury what happened when his case was called initially.
I mean, nothing. It was just the typical. He was in on a bench warrant return as well because after we let him out, he didn't show up. So Mr. Almasi, his attorney, had put him on for a bench warrant return, meaning come into court and ask not to quash the warrant, not to arrest him on it. And so
everyone understands he was out of custody on the day of his sentence.
He was.
He had a bench warrant in that case, but he walked in from the street.
Correct.
When
he had failed to appear at the prior sentencing date.
Okay, that's what I'm looking for.
He was all
the prior sentencing date, he doesn't show up for that. The bench warrant is generated, and then he comes in out of custody at the sentence.
Right.
Explain for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury how it is that the sentencing starts to proceed. Who talks first, and how does that go?
The state always has the right to argue first. In a lot of negotiations, they'll negotiate away the right to argue for any particular sentence. They might agree to probation. They might make no recommendations. was a number of things. They could stipulate to a sentence per the deal. In this case, because the defendant failed to appear, any negotiation previously offered by the state is off the table, and the state, what we call, regains the right to argue. So even if they were agreeing to some other sentence previous, because he failed to appear, they have the right to argue for the sentence. So,
so in this case that occurred, and then I would presume the deputy district attorney that was in court that day would argue the sentence.
He did.
And he would recommend whatever sentence he deemed appropriate.
He did.
Ultimately, the decision would have been up to him.
It was.
After the district attorney argues for their sentence, what happens next?
Then I turn to the defendant, Mr. Redding. He goes next. Do you have anything to say to the court before I pronounce sentence? And he was very calm and articulate, and basically he's been doing great. He's at a better place than he ever was before. And, you know, I pointed out your violent history, your failure to.
Yeah, see, so she's going through what I just read, like the whole conversation that happened right before he jumped on her, and he was feeling like he was in a better place and he didn't want to go to jail and all this stuff. So she's explaining that.
Here, and I don't remember whether mental illness came up, but I had said that he had been through mental health court. In his PSI, he had claimed that mental illness wasn't an issue for him. So it's kind of hard to, I don't even know how to reconcile it. But anyway, he had talked about he was going to have a job with the Teamsters and he was going to do all this stuff. Meanwhile, he had no employment history whatsoever, that at least according to the PSI, there was no employment history. So I don't know where he was going, but anyway, he was calm. And he said, I think you should give me probation. He said, and we talked about his criminal history, and it's just so much violence. And
let me ask you some very specific questions. Sure. When Mr. Redden was speaking in court, did you observe any signs of impairment?
No.
Did you observe any signs of mental distress or disease or hallucinations or anything like that?
Absolutely not.
Had you observed something to that effect, would it have been concerning to you?
Of course.
Are there times in which the court needs to jump in and say, hey, it's not appropriate to proceed today?
Absolutely.
Here, did you see anything that caused you concern while Mr. Redden spoke?
Not at all.
After Mr. Redden spoke, who spoke next?
Mr. Almasi.
And who was that?
His attorney, Caesar.
So, I mean, obviously, I have said that this guy, you could look at him and tell that he got something going on. And so I didn't know what he was diagnosed with. So it says here that he has schizophrenia. His Redden's attorney also argued during opening statements that his client, who was diagnosed with schizophrenia, was not taking his medication at the time of the attack. Attorney spoke in private during a lengthy break after Lasso's testimony on Thursday. When they returned and Reddick confirmed he wanted to plead guilty, the judge asked him if he was admitting to attempted murder. Did you do that, sir? District Attorney Susan said. So, yes. Okay, so I don't know what they're talking about there, but I just couldn't help but notice that they said that he has schizophrenia. So, he need to be in a mental hospital somewhere, I guess, if he is documented mentally ill. And you can literally look at this dude. He obviously do have anger issues and not taking his medication. It could be controlled if he would just do that. But yeah, so I just wanted to say that, y'all, because I didn't know that.
And was Mr. Almasi permitted to make a full argument to the court and ask for leniency and whatever he wanted?
He was.
And did he do so?
He did.
Now, in a moment, I want to play some video for you. Judge, with the court's permission, we've previously...
Let's see the video. They probably ain't going to show us stuff. Or maybe they will show us. Let's see. Don't get no ideas, sir.
Before we get there, Judge, up until that point, District Attorney speaks, Mr. Redden speaks, Defense Attorney speaks. Was everything proceeding as you expect a sentencing proceeding?
Yes.
Were there any signs at all that this was going to get out of control or violent?
No, it was actually completely contrary, because he was, like I said, calm and articulate, and he said, this is what I'm doing. But at the same time, he said, but Judge, I understand you got to do what you think is right. And I understand that. So it was better than I would normally hope, I guess.
Court's Commission 58.
Okay. 3697.
Lord.
This is time stop for entry of judgment and position of sentence. Is there a legal cause or reason why judges should not be pronounced against you at this time?
No, Judge.
Wait, hold on. Because they must have it speeded up, and then I got it speeded up. So let me put it on normal.
And 3697.
Is that your courtroom on January 3rd of 2024?
It is.
And is that your current courtroom?
It is.
As you look around this courtroom, is it set up a little bit differently than yours?
It is.
The folks that are on the right-hand side of the screen, do you know who they are?
Yeah. The deputy DAs, Joey Scarborough and Richard Scow.
Smack the thumbs up, y'all. I don't even know if I got any thumbs up. Let me look. I don't see them. What are we waiting on here? Can the 13 people in the building please smack the thumbs up? I got 5 thumbs up. 13 people watching. It's free, y'all. Just hit the thumbs up.
You can see that on your screen.
Smack the reactions too.
The folks on the right, who are they?
The district attorneys, Richard Scow and Joey Scarborough.
And on the left?
Cesar Almasi.
Is that the gentleman in the blue suit?
It is.
Who's that taller guy standing in the center of the room?
Shane Brandon, my marshal.
And is Shane Brandon similar to Marshal Black, responsible for courtroom security?
He is.
Counsel, can I have you approach for a moment?
Okay. So I wasn't ready for no break yet. Good thing I didn't go to the bathroom yet. But so I guess we getting to know who all the players are. So we're gonna see. Wait, it says before trial began on Tuesday, Redden pleaded guilty to 6 additional charges, but maintained he was not guilty of attempted murder against the victim 60 or older. On Thursday, he withdrew the plea.
Just before we move on with the video, I want to follow up on a question I asked you earlier. You had mentioned PS.
So on Tuesday, he withdrew the pleas and entered a guilty but mentally ill plea to each of the counts.
What does that actually mean?
Pre-sentence investigation report.
And is that, as you described, several pages long, and it would give not only criminal history of an individual, but where they're from, their childhood, their background, their marital status, their health, and various other things.
Yes.
Essentially, it's a packet that is supposed to give you everything you need to sentence an individual appropriately.
Correct.
These individuals down here on the left, you can see at least one of them. Who are these folks?
Those are the other inmates.
And so they are in your courtroom, they're sitting where our jury is sitting today.
Correct.
And those are in custody defendants, is that right?
Right.
When a defendant shows up out of custody, do they sit back in the gallery area here?
They do.
And as you mentioned before, Mr. Redden was out of custody.
He was.
I'm going to resume the video.
Alright, this is time set for entry of judgment, imposition of sentence. Is there any legal cause or reason why judgment should not be pronounced against you at this time?
No, Judge.
By virtue of you plead guilty, I hereby judge you guilty of attempt battery, substantial bodily harm. My notes indicate the state retained the right to argue to the bench warrant. Is that correct? Yep.
That is correct, Judge.
All right. State.
Based on
Please subscribe and press that notification bell and thumbs up. Please subscribe.
PSI, I know you see all this, I don't need to rehash everything. My concerns are, there are crimes of violence.
Yep.
In the PSI, 3 felonies, 1 probation revoked. But you do see on page 5, there are many probation violations or remands on a probation honorable discharge form. But I am concerned based on the nature of the criminal history, home invasions, batteries, battery, domestic violence, assault with a deadly weapon in this case that led to an attempt battery substantial. I think felony is appropriate, and I think a prison term would be appropriate.
Is there any restitution or victim impact?
No, Judge, not that we have today. So, but I do think prison is appropriate. I asked the court to impose 19 to 48 on this case based on the criminal history and the facts of this case.
Okay.
Judge, could you hear that okay?
Uh-huh.
When the deputy district attorney asked for 19 to 48, just describe what that means in our
The attempt battery with substantial bodily harm that he was charged with could be treated either as a felony, where you could get 1 to 4 years in prison, or it could be treated as a gross misdemeanor.
Shout out to Mouthpiece in the building.
364 days in the Clark County Detention Center. He was asking that it be treated as a felony, the 1 to 4, and he was asking for the maximum sentence under that felony, 19 to 48. It's 19 months to 48 months. Here in Nevada, you get a max and a minimum sentence. So you get the 48 months or the 4 years. The minimum is supposed to be a truth in sentencing to let you know how much you have to serve before you are eligible for parole. And that would be the 19 to 48. The minimum can't exceed 40% of the maximum. So truly the maximum minimum and the maximum in this case was 19 to 48 months.
Mr. Redden, is there anything you want to say on your own behalf before I pronounce sentence?
So basically, I would like to tell the courts and everyone here, like, based on my criminal history, like, I feel that, like, I shouldn't be, like, sent to prison for a second time.
Have you looked at your criminal history?
Huh?
Have you looked at your criminal history?
I actually just, I looked at it. And
you lived it.
I just looked at it,
yeah.
And, you know.
3 felonies, gross, 9 misdemeanors, multiple DVs. Got a lot going on, sir.
Yeah, I just figured like.
Battery on a protected person, robberies. Attempt home invasion. Go ahead, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I just figure like, and I'm in a better place in my mind, my mental health. I have a support system. I just got hired as a teamster for, you know, a union, you know, making $20 an hour. And like that, the reason behind every single domestic violence, I've been dealing with mental health. I didn't know that I was dealing with mental health. And they put me in mental health court, and I still didn't know that I had a mental health problem until it was August 2022 when I realized I had a problem with this. And like having a dictionary and like understanding myself, getting to know myself a little better, and applying it to my personality, and having an epiphany at that moment in those instances, and just like trying to learn from my mistakes, you know. And I feel like I shouldn't be sent to prison. But if it's appropriate for you, then you have to do what you have to do. But I figure that, you know, if I'm in a better place in my life, I'm not doing drugs, I'm not out there committing crimes now, you know, and I feel like I should be given a shot because I'm in a better place than I was then, you know. So that's, I'm a person who never stops trying to do the right thing, no matter how hard it is. And I just, you know, and I'm trying, and I never give up trying to do the right thing. I know I'm not a rebellious person. I don't want to be standing there. I want you to have to, you know, sit up there and waste your time as well, you know? But the criteria of me saying this is that I'm a person that never stops trying to do the right things, even if it's hard. And I did the best I could.
2 minutes later.
Thank you. Joe Massey.
Judge, as contained in the pre-sentence investigation report, my client was diagnosed with schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. And in speaking with him, it certainly seems that he's following the pattern that this court has seen so many times. So self-medication.
I've had 2 goes at mental health court.
He did. He does have to honor the discharge from probation. So he can do probation. He can be successful while supervised. It is true that he did get dishonorable discharge. He was revoked on a gross misdemeanor that he was supervised for just very recently. But he is in a different position now. His foster mother, who is present as a show of support, her name is Karen Springer, has provided him a place to live, which is listed on the PSI. His current address is 8th Rose Circle, Apartment A in North Las Vegas. And she very graciously has allowed him to stay there rent-free until he gets on his feet. Now, he is now part of Union 631 with Teamsters and is hoping to work his way through that program so that he can maintain work. He's also reached out.
Up until this point, Your Honor, you have suggested a couple times that you're not buying the argument for probation. Is that fair?
Fair.
Did you?
He
just
could
now
tell
observe,
too.
Mr. Redden move his body position a bit.
I did.
Yes.
Did you notice that back then?
No.
Shannon West for any job prospects that are available.
You seeing that now?
I am.
Is it common for a judge and her marshal?
Who's the dude on the
have a
shirt
bit of
running?
unspoken language that goes on when you're sentencing?
It's a dude on his shirt that looked like he running before he even took off. Look at that shirt.
Yes.
You work closely with your marshal?
Very.
And those cues that you've given in court, do they have a bit of a purpose?
They do.
What is that?
So he can get ready for a remand.
And a remand means put cuffs on.
Taking somebody out of custody and putting them in custody.
I'm going to resume the video.
How did he even get past all of those people though? But do y'all see that man on his shirt? Look at the man on his shirt. Mouthpiece says she look mad. I'm about to cook you now. That's Biggie. LOL. That's a Biggie t-shirt. Oh, okay. I didn't know who the heck was on this shirt, but it do look like he in a running position though. His arms is up. I'm like, wait a minute, that shirt made him take off. Don't it look like this man running? It don't look like Biggie to me. But it could be. But yeah. Why? What made him come to court with a Biggie shirt on? I guess he felt Biggie that day then. And like Superman. But how did he get around all of these people? Let's see.
To and through them. Finally, Judge, it's not just his mental health he's been contending with, but he also has a history of IEP.
He's standing there like, say another MF word. You know what I'm saying? He is looking like he ready.
His education. And at 30 years old, he does not have a high school degree. And so we spoke about that as well, and I think it's high time that he did that. I think the court can trust him. He's going to perform well on probation.
We'll see, I guess.
I think he's worth this risk. The court wants to be 1948 as suggested.
It's a cop right there.
I would have no issue with that, but it's suspended rather than just send him to prison for any length of time. I think it makes more sense given the circumstances and his ability to do probation successfully that he be given this opportunity.
I appreciate that, but I think it's time that he gets a taste of something else because
it's about to go down right now.
In accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada.
This dude didn't waste no time. Oh, F that be like, oh man. I mean, they need to show us the what? All of that calm talking he was doing. She like, nah, you need to get a little taste of something else. Oh, F that be. What? Damn.
Before we let that play, Judge, I want you to do your best to walk us through what happens next from your end.
Now, I don't know nothing about this woman, but she seemed like she reasonable. I mean, I would have felt the same way, all of that stuff going on. But if the man got mental issues, he need to be in a mental hospital with getting mental help. Because regular prisons is not going to help him. But if it's treatable with medication, then unfortunately he didn't take his medicine. I think they hear voices and all kind of stuff. I will have to look it up to see exactly. But if he's not going to take his medicine on his own, then he need to be at a facility to get help with that. But he clearly got some issues, y'all. The fact that he even did that. But the blank stare, you know.
I remember him coming at me and really didn't think that he would ever make contact. And then I just remember it was like a crash sound. I just remember smashing into the wall. I went down, my glasses went up. I smashed into the wall. He was on me. And then I was being pulled down. I was being hit and I don't know where and by what. I had closed my eyes. I was trying to protect my face and my head. He had me by the hair and I was still getting hit in the head.
Finally, Judge, it's not just his mental health. He's worth this risk. The court wants the 1948 as suggested by the VA. I would have no issue with that. It's suspended rather than just sent him to prison for any length of time. I think it makes more sense given the circumstances and his ability to do probation successfully that he be given this opportunity.
I appreciate that, but I think it's time that he gets a taste of something else because I just can't get that history. In accordance with the laws of the state of Nevada.
Now, I'm going to be honest, it is funny. You know what I'm saying? It's funny to see this happen. Was it wrong? Yes, it was wrong. But I feel like no other judge deserved it like this lady that we was talking about before her. This judge.
Kathleen A. Ryan presiding. Good morning. You may be seated.
If you're black in any other country, you're doing way better. If you're an American black person, then you're a lazy piece of oh, he's just I have no use for him. I can honestly say that. Okay, I'm not systemically racist. I'm a new racist. I never was, but now I am because you're shoving the down my throat and making allegations that you don't know about. You're telling me who I am and you've never met me. You. You. You know.
In that email, Hutton said Judge Ryan, quote, has vocalized her hate and contempt for various protected groups.
Kathleen A. Ryan presiding.
Yeah, that would have been nice. Her, Kathleen Ryan. That's going on right now, y'all. We got our eyes on that too. Okay, let's go back.
And this like they're fighting over me. I mean,
let me speed it
Michael's
back up.
Trying to pull him off.
Hey. Hey, can you fucking radio somebody? Fucking radio somebody.
Oh, okay. Okay, shoot. Hold on.
It was scary. I didn't think I was going to get out of there. I went down, my glasses went up, I smashed into the wall. He was on me, and then I was being pulled down. I was being hit, and I don't know where and by what. I had closed my eyes. I was trying to protect my face and my head. He had me by the hair, and I was still getting hit in the head. In the meantime, I saw my law clerk who was sitting next to me, who had dove almost in front of me as Mr. Redden came at me. And he was on top trying to pry the defendant off me. By this point, I had pulled down. I was kind of laying down like in the back of the bench. I had gone my head from this side to this side. And I just remember saying, help, help, somebody get him off. I mean, in my head, I was completely defenseless. He was so determined and so violent and so, it was scary. I didn't think I was going to get out of there.
I'll give you a moment. I want to play a little more video and back up a little bit.
Fuck that bitch! Hey,
A lot going on there.
Don't do this. Please. Is she okay? Hey. Hey, can you fucking radio somebody? Fucking radio somebody.
Can you do your best to describe the level of force he used when you were under the bench and we can't see in the video?
The level of force he used the entire time was superhuman. I don't know. From the time he came through the air and smashed into me, he knocked me literally almost through the wall, out of my chair. He knocked me so hard, he knocked me out of my shoes. You know, when you see a car accident and people get hit so hard by a car, their shoes come off. I mean, that's how hard he hit me. And when I was down there, it didn't get less.
We saw there a couple of individuals jump in, one of them being your law clerk.
Yes.
While, if you remember, if you know, while your law clerk was trying to save you, was Mr. Redden stopped?
He was not.
Can you describe that? What was going on physically and how?
Only by feel. Because
do your best.
I was down in the ground and I could just feel someone going at me who was Mr. Redden, because that's where he was. And I could feel someone trying to pull him off and leave her alone and you know, this like they're fighting over me. I mean,
that emotion right there, that movement he just did. What is he thinking right now? What is he thinking?
Michael's trying to pull him off and he's not letting go.
Do you know, based on memory, where his hands
I do not.
Do you remember being struck or hitting your head while you were down behind the bench?
Yes.
Do you remember what struck you?
I do not.
What do you remember? What side of your head it was?
Left at that point.
Did Mr. Redden continue to attack you while Mr. Lasso was pulling you?
He did.
At some point, Mr. Lasso and the others are successful in getting him physically off you. So.
3 of them. 3 or 4 of them it took to get him off me.
Wow.
Where did you go, or what did you do once they were able to?
As soon as I was clear enough, I literally rolled onto my bench in fetal position.
I would presume that this was extremely traumatic for you, but I have to ask, do you know if you went unconscious during the attack?
I don't know.
What is the next thing you remember after rolling into the fetal position under the bench?
I remember thinking, why is it taking so long? I mean, there was chaos in the courtroom. There was screaming, the alarms were going off, and there was still a struggle. Again, I couldn't see it. Partly my eyes were closed and partly it was out of my sight. And so I was just laying there and waiting. And then the next thing I remember is Jory coming up. Is she okay? And Michael came up earlier, Michael Lasso, my law clerk, and kind of stood by me, kind of, are you okay? And also, at least the feeling I got was that he was the buffer in case they lost control of the defendant again, because he was still very close.
While the attack was actually going on, what was going through your head?
I'm not going to get out of here. And it's a weird thing, because I know that there's video and there's a part of me going, I'll be dead. But I have 3 kids. They're going to watch. And that's what they're going to see. That's what was making me so mad. Not what he was doing to me, but what he would do to my family.
He writing. Yeah, he definitely was out of line. I mean, even though I'm laughing because it was just funny to see, but I mean I don't know what's gonna happen to this dude. But I seen something where they said he was facing 3 years, but then I'm hearing something about murder. So I mean, attempted murder or something like that. I don't feel like he should get that. But I feel like he should be in a mental hospital. I'm not gonna say he shouldn't be arrested because he's done way too much. Like I wouldn't want to come across him and he just feel like cracking some kneecaps, busting some kneecaps, I should say. So he definitely need to be paid for what he did, but I feel like he need help. That dude clearly need help.
So alarms are going off, lots of physical chaos going on. Did you look around? Eventually were you able to get up and look around the courtroom?
Yeah.
What do you recall seeing?
Well, behind the bench, there was blood everywhere.
Where did that come from, if you know?
Shane, my marshal.
Did you look at Shane?
I did.
What did you see?
Shane, his forehead was literally sliced open.
Wow.
And the skin had been just flapping. He was trying to protect me, even though he was hurt, but he was getting blood all over the bench. There was clumps of my hair on the floor. The calendar papers were all covered in blood.
Well, I wonder what hit him, because the defendant was on her and they was trying to pull him off. So I wonder if he hit him or something, if he just fell, because there was a lot going on. It was a lot of scuffling. Like in some of the footage, you could see it better. The news kind of concealed it, so you couldn't see a lot of it. But I seen a video that showed the actual fight with all of them, and it took a lot of them to get to him, I guess. I mean, to settle him down. But I could tell, I mean, obviously the impact was hard because this is, you got a picture, this is somebody running, jumping, and flying in mid-air. So yeah, he came through like a bullet. Please smack that thumbs up, y'all. It is free 99. I'm still not seeing enough thumbs up. I want to get to 100 thumbs up. Can y'all help me? Please subscribe and press that notification bell and thumbs up. Please subscribe and shout out to everybody listening on Facebook. Please come over to YouTube and subscribe to me over here where all my videos are housed at. This is my main platform, y'all.
Eventually is what I'll call the scene. Is it all secured and Mr. Redden taken away?
Yes.
I'm gonna resume the video here for a moment.
Thank you, Mouthpiece. Yeah, it is free. I don't know why it's so hard.
Hey, where's Mary Kate?
She's right here. She's right here.
Stay down. Get on the ground.
Please, God. Please, God. Please, God. Please.
Oh, shit. Damn. He's a dog.
What is going on?
Calm down. Hey, you come here. I'll take care of it. That's my guy. Come around. You hold in. You got my guy. Come around. Yo, Kelly, is medical coming? Is medical? Yeah, medical. Yeah, we need medical. Judge, you okay? This fucking ass out. We gotta get medical.
This is the part we didn't see. Why was that person clapping? And why is that bell, that dang on sound? Dang. So I guess that was the alarms going off and they didn't get there fast enough, like she said. What was taking so long? But who was that yelling? Because I would have thought he would have been out of there. What was they saying? I couldn't make it out. Okay, wait, hold on. So this the guy that she said head messed up. Let's see. Wait. No, I ain't trying to go that way. I'm trying to see. The way she described it was like it was real bad. But it looked like he got a small piece of tissue there. Right there, this guy, I guess. Dude kicked everybody behind in there. What? So you could see him, the front of him a little bit. It is quite a bit of blood on that. But it don't seem as open as she said it was. Because I pictured that like she was flapping it like a wing. But he did get jacked up. You can see. You can't see the blood. But I don't know about blood being all over the place. Unless it's somebody else bleeding, let me know.
Judge, did you see yourself finally getting up there?
I did.
I believe previously you said you don't know if you went unconscious or not.
Correct.
Do you remember getting up and trying to walk where there's no exit?
Well, I remember because I've seen the video. I mean,
You have no independent recollection of trying to get out of the courtroom by going over to the other side of the bench?
No.
What are you looking for?
Shoe.
Court is over.
Once you are cleared from the courtroom, can I presume that there was an investigation that ensued?
Yes.
Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department detectives come down and document the scene.
I don't know who documented the scene. By then we were in the back. AMR came and medical was clearing everybody and taking Shane out and stuff.
Eventually you give
Yeah, he
a
was.
statement like any witness to a crime or a victim of a crime.
I did.
And can you describe for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury
They always on lunch
the
break.
injuries you sustained, if any?
Obviously I hit my head. I did my family didn't want me driving, so my daughter drove me home, and then they insisted that I go to the hospital and get a scan to make sure I woke up in the morning because it looked pretty scary. The scan was okay, but obviously I had a headache for a few days. The spots where he pulled out my hair, you know how when you get your hair pulled out, it's sore for a while. That was sore for a few days. My arm, my back, everything was stiff, like, you know, you get jostled around. The next day, the worst part for me the next day was my neck. I don't know what it was. I don't know. All I know is I literally during the day was holding my head up like with two hands because my neck was so sore and so tired. It just hurt. My tailbone, that hurt for weeks. If you ever bruise your tailbone, that just doesn't go away right away. And I was walking older than my age for a while. I didn't get back on the treadmill for 2 or 3 weeks. And when I say back on the treadmill, that means I walk on it. It's nothing. But I couldn't even walk on the treadmill for a couple of weeks. And then it was several months before I could lay on my left arm. I couldn't sleep on it. That was.
What type of injury did you have on your left?
That's what took, I think, the bulk of the initial hit. Again, I don't know what it was that hit me there, but I still have, it's been how long now, and there's a round, it's not horribly disfiguring, but it's a definite, you can still see a round, raised, bruised, fleshy, something not like the rest of it.
I would say either his arms or his shoulders hit that area, because he would have had. I mean, if you was diving on somebody, you would kind of go to the side, like turn to the side a little bit so you don't hit her head on and have open space. So I would say, yeah, his head or his shoulders or something probably hit her. What y'all think?
Marking where he made contact with me that day. But it took me months before I could sleep on my left side again.
In the days following the attack.
Or that
did
could
you
have been
photograph-
a side she fell on, but I don't know.
And did you also, you and your family members, take photos of your injuries as they progressed?
We did.
Were there several times in the following days where you lost large clumps of hair?
Yes.
I have to ask for the record, ma'am, how old are you?
63 now.
And you would have been 62 at the time of the incident?
I was.
All right, thank you very much. I'll pass it over to Judge.
Okay, Cross.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Arnold.
Your Honor, isn't it true that you didn't have any bruises as a result of this attack?
No.
And
I'm sorry, I didn't catch that. What was your answer?
No.
And isn't it true, Your Honor, that you didn't suffer any bleeding as a result of this attack?
That's true.
And isn't it true that you had no broken bones as a result of this attack?
That's also true.
And in regards to your neck, you didn't have any bruising on your neck. Isn't that true?
True.
Isn't it true that you didn't know how many times, if any, that Mr. Redden hit you with a fist?
True.
In fact, you don't know for sure if Mr. Redden hit you with a fist or if you were kneed or anything like that.
True. After the obvious initial.
Correct. And let's make that clear for the record. So when you say after the obvious initial, I'm not talking about the leap, but when you're actually on the floor, you don't know if you're being struck by Mr. Redden with his feet, his fists, or anything like that.
Correct. Just that I'm being hit.
Just that you were being hit. And were you covered up? Was your face covered up at the time?
I'm going to assume so. I mean,
prior to him jumping over the bench, you didn't see him with anything in his hand?
No.
And you didn't see during the attack him having any?
Yeah, so the attempted murder shouldn't even fly because he didn't have nothing in his hands. I mean, and they can't say that his body was a weapon. So they really, I mean, they definitely shouldn't be charging him with that.
Anything in his hand?
No.
You know, you're asking it in the negative, the last two questions, Mr. Arnold, and I'm afraid that it'll come across in the transcript as a double negative. Could you re-ask those questions? I just want to make sure you're getting the meaning that you want.
Yes, Your Honor. So isn't it true that you didn't see anything in his hand?
Yes.
And isn't it true that during the attack, when you're on the floor, you didn't see anything in his hand that he was attacking you with?
Also true.
I don't see how that made a difference.
I'm going to shift gears here, talk about the PSI. In regards to the PSI, you reviewed it.
I did.
And did you, was there a section that you recall in regards to his mental illness?
Yes.
And you were aware that he had suffered from, he had a previous mental illness history, is that correct?
Correct.
And do you recall, was it paranoia and schizophrenia?
I remember schizophrenia. I don't remember
It
what else.
is, right?
Did you have any concerns going into the actual sentencing hearing about his competency?
No.
Did you make any inquiries to Mr. Omalsi, his defense attorney, in regards to his competency prior to proceeding with sentencing?
I did not. If I recall, the mental health history was fairly long ago about his diagnosis of schizophrenia, and that he had gotten some treatment and then he was not on medication. He had graduated from mental health court, and according to him, he didn't feel like his mental health was causing him any issues. That was kind of the summary of the mental health issues as I understood them from his PSI.
Right.
And then coupling that, normally it would be, the defense attorney would be the one to bring it to my attention that there's a competency issue if it wasn't obvious.
Right.
And then that coupled with his appearance in court didn't give me any cause for pause.
Did you note, or was it brought to your attention through your review of the PSI, that on your case, prior to it proceeding to district court, that he was found to be incompetent?
I don't recall he was found to be incompetent. I recall he was referred to competency court, but I don't recall the findings.
Okay. And do you know, after he was referred to competency court, how long did the case languish prior to you receiving a guilty plea in the case?
I don't know.
And again, you weren't aware or made aware by anyone that he was supposed to be on medication at the time of his sentencing?
I was not.
Just check my notes. Was he saying anything to you that you recall when he was on top of you?
I don't recall.
Do you recall if you heard any statements that he said that he was trying to kill you?
I don't recall.
Do you recall anything that was being said to you by Mr. Redden?
I do not.
I think all he said was, nah, F that B, what we heard him say. And then the rest was just scuffling, them trying to get him off and all that. Like she said, they was pulling him off. He had her by the hair, so when they was pulling him off, he probably still had her by the hair. And it wasn't easy to stop all the commotion, but we couldn't see what was going on. But yeah. So they shouldn't be trying to get him for murder, but I don't think that charge, wait, hold on, not guilty, yeah, that charge is there though.
It was literally chaos.
He definitely shouldn't
and again,
get that.
All the blows that you said that you felt to your head, you don't know who gave those blows, number one. Is that correct?
I mean,
you're assuming that it was Mr.
Michael
Redden.
Jury and Richard literally were pulling him off me, saving my life.
Okay.
But for them, I'm not here. But no, I guess theoretically, my law clerk could have punched me in the head.
Well, you said that you experienced blows to your head. Is that correct? And so again, there was a huge scuffle in there trying to get him off of you.
True.
And so you don't know what part of anyone's body that actually landed on your head that could have caused injury.
Eventually, but initially he was the only one near there.
Right.
That could have, yes.
And do you recall also that when you gave your voluntary statement, that you stated that you were only struck in the head once.
I don't recall. If I said that, I do.
Okay. And
I don't think I've ever said there was the initial and then there was a second.
Okay. I'm going to approach Ms. Pierce and approach to refresh her recollection.
Sure. Oh, I did it again. I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
Just where I have it highlighted.
Where you have started me?
Yeah. Just read in between that.
You want me to read it to you?
No. Just read it and refresh your recollection. You know the drill. Then I'll ask questions.
Can I keep that?
Yeah.
There you go. Okay.
And so, based upon your review of the voluntary statement, do you recall how you were hit?
Same thing. I don't know if it was head or elbow, head, hand. Yes.
Okay.
I don't know.
And you don't
I was
know,
hit, but I don't know with what.
right? And you don't know how many times you were
I
hit.
don't.
Okay. That's all the questions I have.
Redirect.
I'll be brief, Judge. You gave a voluntary statement to police that was recorded. Right?
Yes.
Subsequent to that, you testified at a prior court proceeding.
Yes.
And throughout that, you've been consistent that you don't remember how many times you were hit.
Yes.
In fact, as you sit here today, you can't tell the jury if you were knocked out or not.
No.
Mr. Arnold,
I think you might have a double negative as well. Could you re-ask that question?
do you know if you were knocked out?
No. I mean, no.
May I approach?
Yes.
There was a question or a line of questioning about whether you sustained bruising.
They are being real careful about how how they ask those questions. And so I don't know, man. They might stick him with the murder, but I don't think it's fair because he didn't have a weapon. And so, yeah. How y'all think this is gonna play out for him? You think that's gonna stick? Do you think they might get this man life in prison for that?
Do you remember that line
I don't even know what he's facing or nothing. I need to read this.
of questioning?
Yes.
Showing you now 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, and 33. Are those documentation of your bruising
Yes.
after the incident? And these will be available to the jury. These are already admitted, Judge, so these will be available to the jury. I'm not going to put them up on the board. When you described this attack initially, I asked you about the level of force that was used. And I want you to do your best to describe the level of force used and why it is you don't remember how many times you hit.
I was hit so hard between the defendant's body and behind my bench. It's a marble wall. And so, like I said, I was hit so hard that I literally smashed into it. And then I was at best dazed, and I was pulled down behind me, and he continued going after me so forcefully and so violently that literally 3 or 4 healthy, strong young men couldn't get him off of me. It was so strong. They saved my life. I tell them that all the time. You guys saved my life.
As that was happening, do you recall a hand on your neck?
I remember being held. No, not clearly. No.
So he wasn't, if he was trying to unalive her, he definitely would have had his arms around her neck. I mean, I don't know. What was he trying to get her to change her mind? I don't know. I just don't. Yeah, he need to pay for what he did, but don't give him charges that he shouldn't have.
Doing your best to recall the events as you remember. Is that right?
Yes.
Thank you.
I do know I lost hair, a lot of hair from that side.
Thank you.
It grew back.
Any recross?
Yes, just real quick. And Your Honor, in regards to the bruising, the pictures that you were just shown, those were pictures in regards to bruising on your shoulder, your arms, and your legs and tailbone. Is that correct?
Well, you don't have a picture of my tailbone, but
your back area.
My lower hip, my
Right.
shoulder, and my upper arm. Yeah.
Okay. And there was no bruising to the face, and there was no bruising to your neck. You have to say,
You asked, there was no bruising, and she's saying no.
but we have to get it verbally, and I'll start it over again.
There was no bruising to my neck.
There was no bruising
that I'm aware of, yeah.
to your neck, and there was no bruising to your face.
So if he had his hands around her neck, she definitely would have had bruising. He had her hair. So he was never in a position to be able to take her out, is what I'm saying.
Face.
No.
That's correct?
That's correct. I'm sorry.
Okay.
That's all right.
All right.
I just want to make sure the transcript reads the way that you guys want it to read, that's all.
Right. All right. No
What
further
y'all
questions.
wanted to
Thank
read.
you.
Okay, you may step down,
Thanks.
thank you.
Man, I don't know. But so I'm gonna read what I have here. So they said that he obtained the same lawyer that Keefe D has. It says Redden's defense team and family says he was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia. Redden retained criminal defense attorney Carl Arnold, who is also representing Dwayne Keefe D. Davis in the Tupac murder case. Redden has a long criminal history, including 3 felonies. Okay, and also it says, according to the arrest report, Judge Holta said Redden knocked her out of her chair and slammed her head against the wall before ripping out her hair. Okay, reports also state that 2 marshals were notified of a panic alarm, but they were dispatched to the wrong courtroom. So that's what they're saying took them so long to come in. And hold on. Okay, so it says during the hearing, Judge Houston was sentencing. Okay, we got that. So Redden's sentencing is set for November 7th of 2024. Redden was initially facing 7 charges, but pleaded guilty to all but 1 charge ahead of a jury selection on September 3rd. He had pleaded not guilty by reason of insanity to attempted murder of a victim 60 years of age or older. Redden had not reached any agreement with prosecutors before pleading guilty. So they also said that he changed the plea to guilty by insanity, or not insanity, mentally ill. So this is gonna be interesting to see what happened. But I just wanted to come in and report that. And that one judge, like I said, we gonna keep our eyes and ears open for that. If you didn't catch the beginning of this, check it out to find out about this Judge Kathleen that's clearly racist and proud of it. So I'm gonna play that on the way out.
Kathleen A. Ryan presiding. Good morning. You may be seated.
If you're black in any other country, you're doing way better. If you're an American black person, then you're a lazy piece of you're a he's just I have no use for him. I can honestly say that. Okay, I'm not systemically racist. I'm a new racist. I never was, but now I am because you're shoving the down my throat and making allegations that you don't know about. You're telling me who I am and you've never met me. You. You.
In that email, Hutton said Judge Ryan, quote, has vocalized her hate and contempt for various protected groups.
Kathleen A. Ryan.
So this is the person that determines the rest of your life acting like that. It's not an act, it's who she is. We got a lot of people like this on the bench. And she need to be with the criminals or the people, the innocent people that she likely locked up for a long time.
Lock his ass up. Lock his ass up. You're going to jail. You're going to jail. Lock his ass.
So thank y'all so much for tuning in. If you didn't get a chance to smack that thumbs up, do it right now. Please subscribe and press that notification bell and thumbs up. Please. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. For sharing. For sharing. For sharing me. Thank you for sharing. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I'll see y'all in the next video. So make sure you subscribe, press all notifications so you know every time I go live. We gonna get up out of here, y'all. Peace and love. Shout out to 755 Media, who's in the chat, and also Shandy Speak Music. Check them out for an intro, y'all. Peace and love, y'all. We out.